Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming. We're in our in-between seasons episode, the off-week episode, heading into Season 52, 3 versus 3 Grand Arena Championship. I'm joined by my usual co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, and Sasha Isha, but with a little extra seasoning on top. We have a special guest, been in the background, in the works, trying to get all of the schedules involved to align. But it's a pleasure to be here with you all, and now Brock Thudsteel as our special guest. He is a TW lead here in the Maw family. But one of the biggest reasons he's here is he's an experimenter. He hangs around in the top neck of the woods here in GAC, but is more interested in his science than necessarily whether or not he's in and out of the top 100. Nonetheless, devious and a pleasure to have you here. So yeah, now everybody else can talk. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Hey guys. Hey, teach. Taz, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
It's been we've all been looking forward to it. It was an exciting topic between the lot of us when we were thinking about how fun it would be to have a special guest, and when we started putting together the name, you were on the short list, so we were excited.
That was one of my top picks, only because of the fact of the one brain, what leaves his brain and his mouth comes out for the same thing I'm thinking, and the stuff he tries to do, and the guy who MacGyvers the teams and does all the stuff, dude. So I'm super excited to hear.
Very good.
MacGyver didn't always succeed.
Doesn't matter. It still learns, and it's always good.
Yeah, he was the win the battle, lose the battle to win the war type. So he did succeed, though. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know Dagger's probably milling about with the kids in the background. I see his mic's muted for the moment, but he'll chirp in, I'm sure, as soon as he can. Didn't want to make you feel like you were left out there, though, buddy. Anyways, guys, we got a lot to talk about.
Go to wise man. Stay home and masturbate.
It's fair. Yeah. Don't have kids. Don't get married.
And get them damn nuggies. You get them nuggies. Nuggies equal kids for the lovies.
Oh, God.
Man,
that's how it's going. We're going wild.
Just going whoosh over the heads of the viewer. Mm-hmm. Just whoosh. But it's
Facts.
Fair. Inside jokes be inside. All right. Anyways, guys, let's get right into the material, shall we? So, as we typically do, going into a new season, we talk about our preparation. What character remods, of note, any R8s, R9s that you're excited to see perform, anything like that. We'll let our guests settle in and see how we do. So feel free to chime in anytime, Brock. But just listen to us at least. Start and jump in where you fit in. But yeah, we don't usually do round robin for this one. We're usually round robin on our weekly show just to make sure that we're good on time. So, yeah, I mean, for myself at least, big change for me is Ray. You guys know I have long stood by the 240,000 health Ray, only about 12,300 offense. That was about the best I could do. But for as long as we had bulk sets, her being huge was more advantageous to keeping your team alive, getting to stack up, getting to do multiple ults. That was just more important than having absurd offense. So I find myself in the awkward position with this new Datacron set 14 that we do have bulk added, not as a free handout on a level 3 in a big chunk, but as just stats. But we also just have way more offense baked into set 14 than either the previous bulk sets, like set 11, set 9. So she's a big change. I lowered her down to about 200,000 health, took her offense up to 13,400. I toyed with the idea. I could have been just under, something like just about 198 and then 13.5. But yeah, I think Brock was one of the folks I was talking about it with. He sold me on it's really not worth it. I mean, it's only 3,000 health, but 200,000 is already like the number that you would tell yourself I really shouldn't go under this. This is already the floor. I'm not really trying to plumb the sub basement here. So Ray was the biggest one because that took some work to tear up. Still keep her about 500 speed. I think she's actually like 5'11", but that's incidental. I'll probably end up rolling some speed away, to be honest. Feel free to pile in, guys.
Just want to state that you still have the opportunity to take that rate to 13.5 while maintaining that 200, though. Just to be clear, the opportunity is there.
I think I'd have to switch up a couple more mods, and those mods would actually have to strike it lucky on health, because the ones that I have that I can re-roll are likelier to strike it lucky on speed or health than offense, which is kind of because you could say that it's like, oh well, that's easy, then just switch for the mods that have the more offense than health and maintain the balance, and it's like, yeah, I've already done a bunch of that push-pull work, and it's not quite there. I'm already pretty happy with 13.4, but trust me, I'm looking for it. I'm looking for more.
I think you'll get there.
Something
tells me you're stubborn enough to get there. So
it's on my short list. You know how I keep those characters on the favorites. It's like I stare at them every day. It's like, I know why you're there, Ray. You're not there because you have too much health. I know why you're there. I'm staring at you. So
Yeah, I had a similar idea, but I took it a slightly different direction. I ended up putting her in a speed arrow because I think in 3v3 going before Leia is going to be slightly more important. Getting your second turn out before Leia can go. Right, getting your second lifeblood down before she can like do her middle and try and call a mass assist.
Okay.
So I put a speed arrow on her to get up to about 530 with like 210k health and like 12.8 or 12.9 offense. So a little short on
the offense. So to be clear, your
but
goal is to have CI up in advance of the mass assist.
Well, to have CI up before Leia takes a turn.
Yeah. All right.
You're gonna outspeed her at 530?
Well, a lot of the Leias I see are like health build. So they're like 515 to 525. So I try to get it to 530 to be faster than like those. Like if the Leia's faster, it doesn't matter. But I mean, like maybe boxing out the health Leias might actually burn some banners, make it messy, right? That was the thought.
Yeah, totally.
Most I've seen people up that keep it somewhere around 180, like in the top, I don't know, 20-ish. 180, maybe closing up on 190, but they tend to keep it about 570 speed. So I know that game wouldn't work out here. Do you think that out here that it's still going to be worth going for that kind of speed, or just lean into health or lean into offense instead? Like if you're saying if you know that the people you're fighting are going to be faster than the 530s, what would you do instead?
I think you have the right idea. Like I said, I picked the way I'm doing because I ended up with a really, it's like 8% health and like 7% offense on the arrow.
Super fat. Yeah.
So I'm not sacrificing a huge amount. She took Starkiller's all there.
Okay.
So I don't feel unhappy with all the exchanges. I'm not claiming it's optimal, but it is something I want to try. And then R8ing Zori and
that's a good
Holdo and R9ing JTR for the resistance crowns.
Ooh, yes. And we are going to get to talking about the resistance stuff going on here. But yes, Holdo will have her day. Man, I'm excited. By the way, shameless plug, guys, regarding Datacrons. You know, I recently recorded Datacron Set 14 preview with dear friend and guildmate Aesop Rock, he who remains, up in the top bracket. I don't know if he's number one right now. It's either him or Kabuki or Barator.
No, if somebody's Zerodium 2, that's number one.
No, you know what I mean. I mean legit. I mean legit.
Your statement, sir. You said number one.
You know what? All right. Technically right is the best kind of right. You got me there, but you damn well know what I meant.
I know what you meant. All right, but you can't go regular plebes and Aesop. That's like you have everybody else and you have Aesop, and then that's just how it is, right?
It's true.
Some things that are not the same, and we are not the same. There is the Almighty, who is the big A, and he has the A in his name because he's awesome, and and we bow to his greatness because 9 times out of 10, the shit he's gonna do is gonna be wild.
It's going to be fun. But yeah, we just recorded that. Here at the time of this recording, it'll be coming out tomorrow morning, publicly available on YouTube. So be sure to check that out. Let that, inform your farming strategy, what you want to kind of target, especially going into this first week of 3 vs 3. This is the leanest you're ever going to be on a new set, is that first week.
Shit.
So prioritizing, picking. Shut up, TJ. TJ,
No, it's not.
TJ did the math, contacted the actuary and figured out that it was worth, X number of weeks or months off of his life to make sure that he's going to be fine.
Dude,
he cashed in.
Conversation on it. Yo.
Man made sure he was right.
Take a shit, but Datacron happy. I'll tell you that.
But anyways, guys, don't let me hog it all up here about the remods and whatnot. Go TJ. Yeah,
because I was gonna say Brock, I know Dagger, and I know Task are really big. I don't know. Sasha does some tricky stuff. I'm more of the cautiously wait and see, so I don't make a lot of changes going to week 1 because I don't know what I'm looking for. I always give the same indicator. I always do the same thing when I'm looking at people. If I want to look at big balls and if I'm looking at something like that, that's usually Brock. If I'm looking at things that are ungodly but have a really good threshold of where it could be, and if I could be there, I always use 2 people because they do some of the same thing, but they have really good stuff. And I always use Aesop and Ace Taro. Those 2 have always been my key whenever I'm looking at somebody for a mod, because they don't have to change it. It's just godlike. So it's like, okay, this is what it would be at perfection. Let me come down a little bit. If I need overall muscle for, we'll say, let me give a couple. If it's a gas, Tass or Brock. These are hands down. The gas is the moneymaker that will kill shit that can't kill shit. But when it comes to overall, if I'm looking at something, I always use Aesop and Taro because they have some of the good ideas, but it's a good spec to go into. But when it comes to week 1, the watching and waiting and seeing what everybody does gives you a good idea because you have to tie the modding with the datacron and everything that goes with that. The simplest solution, though, is relic-wise. Basically, go look at the datacron set, and all those are becoming 8th and 9th. We'll
get into datacrons a little bit later in some greater detail. But while we're still just opening up here, I know we already heard from Dagger. What about you? Did you sync any new Relic 8s, Relic 9s, any remods you wanted to cover?
So many 8s. So obviously we have said going to 8. He'll go up probably to 9. Holdo 100% 8 going to 9.
Really, going to 9? Okay.
For her, what she's going to bring to the table and the fact she's a tank, and let's not forget she's also going for a ship. That's going to keep things just a little bit quicker. We'll see what it does.
But we talk about that stuff about ships only where the ad actually makes a difference in a matchup. Are you aware of a Relic 9 holdo being a determinant?
Not yet, but I don't see how it hurts.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. But we already have. I don't think we wrote this down in stone anywhere, guys. But we all kind of internally have the convention that if we're talking about a fleet relic, it's got to be determinant to add it. Right?
It's not. It's just an added bonus. But for right now, I think the set ties into it that it's going to be really strong. And we have other points to talk about what it's going to do. But she feels because she's a tank and what she's going to do, I think R9 is going to go a long way for her. Kit went to 8, of course, because I think that's going to be moneymaker status. Those are my big ones because Kit was. What's funny enough is, and I know people were talking shit to Task. I'm the one for everybody, so they understand. I sold Task on Kit a long time ago.
It's true. Actually, this is true. Listen to this.
I think the conversation came from Brock and myself a long time ago. We were going into the points of conversation about Qui-Gon when it was first coming out. And it was, because Kit's is simple, and the damage at high relics is actually there. So I'm the one who actually sold Task a long time ago with the early specs of this can actually slap and be prepared when everything was just coming out, and it did. It did slap when it was there. So before it was cool, Kit was already built up, and because I talked to Task and went over, here's the reason why, and if you watch it on auto, it just boom, boom, boom. So. Those are my big ones. I think
just to piggyback off that real quick, on your point. I mean, name me another GR that gets you an AOE when Qui-Gon dies that can actually carry if JKA is kind of neutralized at any point.
Yeah.
Like he's won fights handily.
And it's
when
literally
otherwise
AOE. It's literally AOE basic, and it's just boom boom, and it's a constant push in there. He's gonna get you in one of those 2 turns, which is perfect.
And actually, Brock, you reminded me. This isn't a season. This isn't a remod I did specifically here for threes, but I did it just a couple weeks back, and I hadn't mentioned it before. But you reminded me. I actually changed up a little bit about my my Qui-Gon. So, previously I had it clocked with Cam greater than Qui-Gon greater than JKA. And that allowed for armor shred into call, Qui-Gon's call, which could call Cam. A double tap into an armor shredded target is a bad time, and then God forbid JKA gets to go. But I actually saw, it's pretty nasty if you have Qui-Gon set up to go first, because he will dispel the tank if available. He will dispel a taunt if available, allowing Cam to go after a priority target, not just armor shredding any old guy. And then JKA can go. But what the real feature, though, is I packed a ton more offense onto the man. Because to Brock's point about making use with Kit, his AoE is not bad. It doesn't even have like a bad multiplier for offense or whatever. But when you just force feed all that offense from Qui-Gon into him, it is
one big
pretty
piece,
much
though.
indistinguishable from JK.
If you hit him, he always does it. He will always go for the dispel, which gives, and if he hits it, he's getting offense up. Take the offense up and apply that.
Into the armor shred and all the other crap. Yeah.
Don't sleep on that offense up on a team that's already getting 400% armor pen.
But that dispel would happen anyway in the first scenario, right? It's just he would be dispelling a target that had armor shred from Cam, as opposed to him dispelling the taunt off of the tank, allowing Cam now with offense up to apply armor shred to the preferred target.
I'm going from the perspective of you're doing this. That's going into an offense up with armor shred, into a big AoE blast with offense up. All of these things are happening. So taking your point and just going one step further, just in the thought process of what it's achieving for you. That's a big hit, especially, again, I have to go back to it, the Datacron attachment. That huge hit is going to slap the shit out of you. Just to be frank on what you're going to see.
Very good. Very good.
I mean, let's not forget the way offense up works. It's taking whatever your stats are at that time, right? That it's not based upon your base going into battle. That offense up 50% offense. So if you've got, just to touch on the DC, if you've got that L6, and you're at full health, it's adding 50% offense to that total current status that you're at.
When does that check occur?
How it was the last time.
When does that check occur, though? Is that check occurring every turn? Is that start of battle? When does that check occur?
Buff is applied.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I see that. Interesting. I'm gonna see if I can pull one up on screen. I know you guys are looking at it in a small window within a window.
All right. So before we jump down the rabbit hole, I want to make sure, Sasha.
I was gonna say, I know we aren't doing round robin here, but damn,
I get excited.
We got to pry this man out of his shell.
No worries. Frankly, it was a good discourse going, so I didn't want to jump in. And actually, I'll tell you, and this may be relatable to a number of listeners as well, I'm in a little bit of a wait and see in terms of resource allocation at the moment. There's always the shifting meta that comes with the new Datacron set and the move from 5 to 3s or vice versa. And particularly with the influx of new characters that we've got, I'm kind of just saving up materials. So I'm not making any major leaps in terms of relic investments going into week 1, but I'm going to try and make sure it will most likely be between week 1 and week 2 that I'm going to end up getting a couple of the new Gungans, Stap, a few other things that are going to require a little bit of investment. And, part of what I enjoy, reasonably or not, is the resource management aspect of the game. And I'm cool. This is the delayed gratification portion of my experience. So I'm just kind of hoarding a little bit and waiting. And in terms of remod strategy, Nothing that's really dramatic on that front either. The only thing I'll touch on, we don't need to go back to it, but I thought Dagger's point on Ray was interesting. One thing that I haven't done, and I don't plan to do for this particular threes, but that has been in my mind in seasons past, is to dramatically change Ray's speed with modding. And the reason being, like, a lot of us, sometimes the Ray counters get very rote in GAC. It's like, you just know exactly what you're doing. And if you can meaningfully change the equation, like Ray does her ultimate or stays in her ultimate for, 15%, 20% longer, like you just made her painfully slow. That can screw with, like, at least banners, if not necessarily winning that battle. So that's the kind of thing I had been thinking about, but I haven't done. And so Dagger's point of either speeding Ray up or, like in my example, slowing her down were a couple of considerations. But that was what was on my mind.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Anything you wanted to highlight here now, Brock, since you got the sense of how we're going about it? Again, just GAC focused here,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I personally think that, and maybe it's because I have a luxury per se of R9s. For me, Sidious probably has the biggest impact in GAC. I don't personally see him as doing as much in TW. So in GAC, I do see an R9 Sidious as potentially carrying for a lot of those, B or A tier teams that otherwise would have sometimes begged a Riva or a GL even in some situations are now, solo bait. And so in order to not get him gibbed himself, he's going to have to be thick. And R9 is probably not unreasonable if you have the resources. No. I know I'll be doing it just for that purpose.
That's a solid investment. I mean, you're expecting, like we've been saying here on this show, any longtime fan of the show here will know that we've been saying for the last, I'd say, 4 months, at least the last 4 seasons, that it's been a long, slow death to see, like, Finzori become the worst team on your defense. And we've been saying, it's like, I'm not sure exactly when, but the sun is setting on this. And it's like, right. So, at the part where Sidious gets to solo a team of this quality and better, like, yep, there's your sign.
I mean, I see him as soloing Malgus teams.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to his existence and the existence of Bane, to me, say that this is actually this is a start of a new era in the history of defense in GAC. The floor of GAC must be, raised. Like, we've seen enough power creep where something as nasty as a well done Finzori is just inconsequential to something like that.
I think.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know a lot of people are focused on it being a quote unquote efficiency meta or one shot meta, but I think that with the introduction of something like Sid, you're going to be forced to increase the strength of your defense to an extent. Something that's going to mix things up.
It reminds me of when Wampa was new.
It reminds me of that, but it also reminds me of, funny enough, the Initiate Kron, right? Which was a lot of fun, like a hell of a lot of fun.
Where you give them one target for bad banners and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but one that's still risky enough that, well, if it goes sideways, it's a preload, and you're, there has to be that added risk for me, for it to be, cool for me at least.
Okay.
One thing I'll add to that, I like that call out to Sidious. It's a great example in my mind. Like, one of the things, I'm probably going to wait till week 2 to just sort of let the community test his limits a little bit before I think I have him at R7, but before I would make a deeper relic investment. But I will say, one of the things I also just love about this game, like as a Star Wars fan, just at least to some level, all of us are to play a game like this. But the thematic fit of like a solo Sidious, I go back to like this character was good at right, dude. I mean, like I think about like the Savage Mall, like they had like that's awesome. I'm super psyched to like. There's just a whole nother level of me that will get a bunch of joy out of watching him just tear up. Like when you mentioned Amalga's team, I'm like, yes, like that just feels so thematically appropriate.
It does. We are getting our Clone Wars Sidious at long last.
I just want to also comment out real quick on Sasha commenting about me blowing my load early. I feel kind of hurt by it, but I'm just the average dude, so it's just what I do.
We're also used to it,
You know,
Tish.
so- yeah, that's what I said. So I just want Sasha. You didn't have to comment.
He
on my
doesn't.
stuff,
He
but it's
doesn't
fine.
know what you've heard, but whatever you heard, it was a lie.
That's right. That's right. As long as I got mine, I'm fine.
All right. Well, guys, next item. Expectations going into this season about Bo-Katan, Mandalore, Bane, and the Gungans, specifically with respect to the third Gungan incoming either just before or during week 1. So, I mean, for my part, I immediately see about the Bane and the Gungans, but like as far as BCAM, I don't really have any major plans. I kind of used her defensively early on last 3 season, and then later on offensively. I think I will be doing a bit of both this season. I think that adds. It's really going to be scout dependent. I think it's not going to be about my preference. If I had it my way, I think I would leave her on defense because I think she's fairly nasty. But it's like if I see in your history you've got one of a couple ways just figured out, Kron and all, against her as she is right now. I'm just going to hold her for offense and having something super clean. As far as Bane and Gungans go, I mean, Boss Nass looks to have an incredible kit, but I know Dagger was picking my brain about this the other day about what kind of modding I'd think for him, and it's like how it is. Like I don't really want to give an opinion on it till I see the team that he's a part of, because you never know when you're going to run into a CLS situation, right? There's a way to mod CLS that optimizes his damage personally. And then there is a way to mod him to optimize the team's damage where he is present. And they're not the same. And you never know. You never know when you're going to be there. So I'm hesitant to say for now. As far as the impact of it, we know is that this team's going to be some type of kick in GAC, even though the Boston ass... I think his Omicron is...
TW.
It is TW.
Not TW. No, we don't have a
Okay,
GAC
okay.
one yet, but we know it's coming.
Yeah, it certainly will. And
Jar Jar's going to be a triple Omi character, and it's overwhelmingly likely it's going to be TB or GAC.
So
It better be Yak.
Who did I hear this from? If I'm not mistaken, they're saying he's getting a multi-Omi. Again, I thought I heard this discussion going on that he will be the first multi-Omi, so that's various game modes will be per thing. And I have to go back and find where.
No, I'm kind of cool with that. If they're gonna get like if,
he's chaos,
okay,
right?
Okay.
Thematically, he's chaos. So, but if
Thematically, he's
an
ineptitude.
But that's the whole point, right?
Dramatically, he's liquid gold. Okay.
But
Look, they
that's
put C-3PO and Watt in the game. He's going to be
That's right.
good because they're going to make him good because he's going to be a legendary, and we're all going to have to square with that, whether you like him or not.
That's right. No, his kit's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. He's going to be one of the best characters you've ever seen. Like, if there's going to be some circles that need to get squared in your head, but it's going to happen. But anyway, I mean, yeah. So those are my thoughts. I mean, BCAM, not a lot of change. I'll probably do a bit of both. Bane is, I mean, obviously going to be almost exclusively an offensive tool. I think if you're inclined to put Bane on defense, it's much more interesting in terms of maximizing the benefit from his leadership in 5s than in 3s. But I expect I'll encounter a non-zero amount of it. It just feels like free money to me, though.
You can't. You better not. I'm sorry. In what world? One, can we say hallelujah for the post from them? I just want to make sure I call that out. That I know it's going to get its own post, but I just super happy by CG's post. But two, you are ridiculous if you put Bane on defense. I'm sorry. And no world. I do, for what? What team concept are you putting on there?
You get a free Red Trooper.
Here we go. It's a fight. It's a fight. Let's go.
It's not. It is not playing it well, in my opinion. When you can watch things like CLS take it out.
All right. First off, if it takes CLS, that's like, okay, like that's a win for me. But my point is like, I would stay away from there is no reason. There's a lot of reasons to put that on defense. First off, they have to figure out how to kill it. And if they overkill it,
it's a
you win.
non-zero. The fact that you haven't
I
seen
don't
it.
expect to see it a lot, but I think there's some value there, especially if we figure out what beats it and you can like put it behind where your opponent's going to be using that team up front. Again, I think it'll be a tool. I don't expect to set it more than once or twice all season.
Well, and also consider this: what you lose out from the unique from rule of two, by having him on defense at all, and what you lose out from the leadership for having him on defense by not having 5 and only having 3. If you still have all the Omicrons placed, you actually still have quite a threat sitting on the table.
Let's not forget, if you don't one-shot that thing, and you leave Bane with an ally,
horror. Horror.
There will be some memes created.
His value on offense is lower because now it's a 2 versus 3 as opposed to 2 versus 5. Like his actual value gets lowered because he's taking out 1/15 of the board instead of 1/11 of the board, and it's for air quotes worse banners because you're not getting bonus points for the extra empty slots.
It's the insta any kill though. I can't. I will. You know what? I will be happy to come back to this conversation post we see what it does and to say I'm wrong. But I'm sorry. I've watched what his AI done and things like that, and it is, in my opinion, not well. It's too big of a kit for the AI to play this correctly. For you to have not taken something that's going to be appropriately handled by multiple things, and I mean multiple.
Look, man, we live in a world where people put Mon Mothma on defense in the top 100 of Kyber 1 last season.
Well, and I'll also say that there is a danger, just because of the larger footprint of the 3 versus 3 board. That you're right. Like if it takes, like to your point, CJ, if it takes something, in your mind as lowly as CLS to take out this Bane with 3 Omicrons and all, if that is indeed the case on how it works. Oh, okay, but I'm seeing where Dagger's coming from. It's like, right, but you had to keep him for that, right? And if you're a player like me, especially, like you're intel based, you're trying to scout your opponent, and then you're having to kind of try and forecast into this week 1. Okay, we didn't have Bane, last 3s. What am I gonna do here? Like you have to, if you haven't done that pre-reservation, you may well get caught out here in this week, upcoming week 1.
I will only concede to say maybe a week 1. But I still stand on it. That I could see the shock factor of a week 1.
Can you imagine like a C-Reg set team where you get 2 Reg, where one of the Reg scales off of Bane stats and the other one is just your regular R?
It has to be no set on the team though. There has to be no set.
No red. No red on the team.
Yeah,
no
that's
red.
what I'm saying.
So,
fair.
But that could be Talon, whatever. Like.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I get the fact of, as I said, the shock sticker value from that standpoint, sure. But seeing it, I think it's going to come with easy counters. So I hazard the people from the 1 point. I think it's good to have both opposite viewpoints on it. Mm-hmm. But I also know that it's going to be amazing that you have an instant any solution.
Well, that's the argument behind not putting Gas on defense, because Gas has easy solutions. Like, you're still going to see it. They still have to go through the motions of the easy, air quotes, easy counters.
How many times have we said here, in how many of the seasons, in how many of the metas? Well, shit, I can't make use of X team for decent banners on offense, so on defense you go, bub.
But it's not, it's not the same, and I think this will still be good banners. So to the point of what you're trying to say, like losing 53? The 1, it should be better than that. It would be like a 55. You're missing maybe
54. It's 54. Because it's 57 plus 1 is 58 for 1 empty spot. That person dies, you lose 4 banners. Right?
I said, it's not a gas. A gas, in my opinion, for trying to use that is you've lost all protection. There's nothing to retain it. Here you're losing 1 person, sure, but it's still going to be a good enough, in my opinion, of what the meta is going to be, that it's going to do its job on I don't pick the person. Minus what I think, whatever the data count for Ray or whatever we're going to see, it's destroying it. And it's going to be what would be adequate banners, because you're not taking this against a CLS. You're taking this against, oh, shit, this is in the back. I don't know what I'm going to do. Boom, here's my green banners. That was my 1 team that was, all right, I have to account for that.
I mean, it's good. Did people put Bo on defense last 3v3?
I was one of the people who put it on 350, but that's a
I
different
did.
thing because
Yeah.
and
No,
I
because
was
you
definitely.
you can two man multiple GLs with that.
But the difference
Sure.
is though
You do that in fives too. You can two man multiple
Mm.
But-
Yeah,
GLs.
yeah, but my
my
point is we
problem-
already put teams on defense that we can use the two man GLs.
but what I'm saying, but
We already
you're
agreed
right,
to
though.
those on defense.
But you have to take the simplicity of the Datacron doing the work while she's on defense. She won't be when the Datacron's gone. You won't see her on defense. But right
She doesn't
now,
really
I mean, the
open
single
Datacron
problem-
though. She makes poor use of the Datacron because she doesn't open with the basic on the target that has no protection.
It's true.
but
It's
it's
true.
still,
Yeah.
but
It
but
is
it's
a
still
superior
there.
offensive tool, yes, but the fact that it's not that she can't. It's that she won't guaranteed go after the
It's
target
RNG.
that got stripped of the protection. She can, and you can get lucky, but you're right. Like
Right.
she isn't properly going to utilize the Datacron to
And
go
you
after
can
the
only
priority
hide.
target.
You can only hide behind so many things. So that still requires a hefty toll to make sure that you're gonna. Because if you don't kill it, she'll sit there forever and she'll eat up all your team.
But to Brock's
we
point,
can't-
though, about the usefulness of her on defense, if she doesn't target the right character in fives, you have 4 other characters that can help positively kick you off in the
It's
right
true.
direction for whatever you didn't get off the opener. In threes,
Right.
you're much more limited.
Right, but that's the same point. Is that going to your point? You're much more limited. So you have to take in the right tools to not get caught. Because if you're taking in this one and she catches you, I got.
Oh
I got
yeah,
super lucky.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
here, as a perfect
Don't get
example,
jammed up
I
on
had to take a
BKM.
risk.
I'm with you there.
I had to take a risk. End of threes, round 3. I got lucky and took Treya, and guess what? It worked out.
I
won the
remember having
lotto.
one of those myself. I needed Treya to
And so
work,
it's like,
and
you
it
are
did.
you are right, but if it
Yeah.
didn't work, you're screwed.
Just absolutely
Yeah,
sunk.
but
If it didn't work, I was done.
The
But that
overarching
same
point
thing
here
can
is
be applied to Bane.
let's stay away from. Yeah, let's stay away from the always nevers. Is all I'm trying to say. It will be on defense, and you will have to have a plan for it.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I
I think
That's
you have,
absolutely
I
true.
think my problem is
Bad.
you have more. I think all right. So I think my only concern is that I think there's more solutions to the one
Sure.
versus the point of that. So to your point, yes, that's what I said. Especially week 1, I think I will have to concede that Dagger. I think you're right. In the week 1s, the shock value and the sticker value of not only Bang being awesome, right, which we all know, and if you get caught out and it's just 2 characters in now, and then now everything kicks in. That's fucking gnarly. And then the 3 is the Datacron. So all of these pieces coming together for a perfect puzzle. Yes, and especially week 1 because it's like you're right, and it could even be a bottom front or a bottom back or something like that, where it's like I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Now, bottom back has some interesting appeal, but I think that as far as like a week 1 gambit goes, bottom front, like
But
because
that's why I said yes.
it's an extension, right? It's an extension of this idea that occurred towards the latter part of this last 5 season. The idea that in a meta that's typified by everybody saving the right things to one shot everybody's stuff for high banners, the best value you can get would be to have your worst defenses bottom front, so they have to work from the bottom of their roster up. That like and so not that Bane's bad, but to your point that Bane might not perform so hot on defense. If he's not going to perform hot on defense, then let him take what he's going to take first.
I think it's fair. The only thing is, I think we have to extend the rule. Another point I have to concede off of. We have always put the rule, and it's been the old adage for Swigo, is make them figure it out. I bought
Amen
it so
to
you
that.
can figure it out.
Amen to that.
And it expands now from not only characters, but Datacrons. Figure the Datacron out. You have to figure out the toy.
Yeah.
How does this work
And
out?
you
What it's
really-
going to do? That's what I said.
That's fair.
It's true.
That's fair.
And then Brock, you had something to say. I cut you off earlier.
Yeah, please.
No, I was just going to point out that while this whole the notion that Bane on defense versus offense is an impossibility or stupid. It's not. Is he more useful in a vacuum in the hands of a good player? Sure. But I think on defense, if particularly someone like me who likes to set heavier boards, you've got to kind of pick your poison at some point. Even if you save a lot for offense, you might be able to if you don't one shot him. I keep going back to it. If rule of 2 is in play, the AI plays it. Trust me, it doesn't matter. The AI will play it right if rule of 2 is active, and because you failed to one shot that thing. Particularly,
Oh,
imagine a
God.
rule of 2 with, I don't know, Talon being the one that survives.
Horror. Just, I mean,
Right.
almost anyone. But you know what? That if that's a scenario, man, that could actually. I've long had my talent at Relic 8, but that means that in a world where we already have Relic 9 Sass, why not a Relic 9 talent?
I mean, think about how hard she will slap?
She's already like 10k offense for me at 8. Like, yeah, I believe
Right.
it. Like, she's gonna
Right.
be a destroyer of worlds. It's gonna be fun.
And then
Yeah,
you're gonna
so-
have to kill that with something even stronger than you took in.
That would
The
be
first time.
obscene. I would love it. I would
Yeah,
love it.
it's basically don't guess wrong.
That's right.
Right.
Come
That's fair.
correct.
That's what.
And that's
That's
why
why I
I'm
said the
saying
week 1 factor is like huge.
And that's why I'm saying offer them no discretion about how they fight it. Force them to fight them right up front. Like, when I say offer them no discretion, I mean they have the fullness of their roster, but they have the least of the intel, right? It's like, you have to do what you're gonna do, that you think you're gonna get through this, and guess what? You're probably smart enough to, if you're fighting up in our neck of the woods, you're gonna take something that's gonna get through it because you've already had a season in 5s to see exactly what kind of threat Bane is. And I'm willing to bet you that whatever I can draw from you up front for Bane, I can manage to tax you in the back.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
Because guess what's going to use it? You just use BKM. Boom, done.
So
You know,
Natasha,
you
you
know,
add to this?
But I'm being
Yeah.
smart about it. I'm just being a smart.
What a draw! What a draw! BK,
I know,
I draw
that's
your
why I said
BKM
that.
for
I'll
my,
take
for
that.
my Bane.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with what I said. It's fine for that. And like I said, anybody's going to see it is not going to figure out the porridge syndrome, right? It's not the perfect flavor. It's going to be overkill.
Yeah.
It's true.
You're not going to take a
Use your
chance on it.
BKM,
because
and then I have LV Maul Thrawn right behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just,
Right,
it would
right.
be hideous.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
go
let's
ahead.
consider
Sorry.
Sasha, since we've already started.
No, yeah,
talking,
I was
get
just
right
gonna
into
say-
Datacrons.
Yeah, where I could see myself like setting a Bane would be probably more of a week 3. I get TJ's point on a week 1, and then there is the sort of surprise. You really don't know exactly how it's going to behave or what will effectively counter it. But what I could see happening over the next 3 weeks is in week 1, I always assume with new Datacron set and a shift from 5 to 3s or vice versa, is that it's chaotic. Like, people have not finely tuned their counters. There are going to be some drops here or there. Week 2, it starts to, people tighten their efficiency games a bit more. I mean, it's just, we've all been through this so many times. By week 3, most folks have a pretty good sense of what they're going to see and how they're going to counter it. And then that's where I could see, like, throwing Bane, and it could be front wall, it could be back wall, because, like, I probably by week 3 will know how I'm going to counter almost everything I'm going to see. Odds are, in any given match, like, there's going to be 15 relatively familiar 3v3 squad set for me to tackle, and there's going to be extreme value in me being able to manufacture a hold or something that is unexpected or off the sort of at least just off the strategic plan of my opponent, and that's where I could totally see doing that. And I agree with TJ's point that there is, like Brock said, in a vacuum, there's greater value to having Bane on offense. But if you're in a situation where the ability to generate one drop or one messy battle for an opponent is extremely high, then you do it. You go like out of left field. So that's why I could kind of see myself doing it in week 3. And I don't expect to, but like that's a scenario I could totally see where it's like I go into week 3 and I'm like, how the hell am I going to get a hold? Like, everybody I'm facing knows everything, and I'm like, well, okay, nobody's done this. There doesn't seem to be any .gg on it. Let's throw it against the wall. So anyway, that's kind of my thought.
I only want
And
to
it's-
add one thing. One thing that goes to the point for your week 3 and why that makes it more prevalent to be in week 1. You're limited on your resources. So what we've taken and what Tass has talked about, what everybody knows, is for the majority of people walking into week 1, you don't have your Datacrons finely tuned. You do in week 3. You are at that point now where you. Mm-hmm. So the only point I have to go with the chaos factor and the newness and what Brock is saying and what Dagger's saying is if you add the limited resources, and so you don't know exactly what's going to do it, but also you don't have the right Datacron with the right setup or the right something like that, and that's another factor that's out. But you have the Bane Datacron, which is just whatever. It's just some stuff on it, but the level 9 is intact, right? Then it's like, ooh, what do I do now? Because you have to take that other piece into account of I've only got so many new Datacrons. How does that play into it?
Well, and the other strategic advantage to what you're talking about, Sasha, is of course you'd have the benefits of week 1 and 2 intelligence on your opponent and see like you will know by then what people are going to use against Bane, because you could just pull it up on GG and see where others have tried and what it cost their opponents. So you could be thinking, like, based on week 1 and 2 data, I can set him in the back here on week 3. This guy has no way of seeing it coming, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts I've drawn out X and Y counter that he would reserve.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I can see it. No, that's a good call.
So on that, you're talking about like the strategy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
How does losing the Afra and Javacrons factor into what you're thinking about at least week 1? Because we're losing an I win button, and we're losing, essentially its counterpart to a degree.
Yeah. I mean,
and scoundrels get worse, including the CLS team that TJ mentioned, right? Because Hall's not going to take like 93 turns in a row to start.
Well, now I know we have this Afra and Java thing noted because I know we wanted to cover that. It's a great discussion point, but we've covered pretty exhaustively about BKM and Bane. But I just wanted to know, did any of you have any other comment, just even throwaway, that you wanted to add in on ideas about Gungans? Did you have any early ideas or aspirations here? Because I just want to make sure everybody got their chance to take a swing at that.
Honestly, real quick, I thought they'd have the third Gungan announced today.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's really nothing to talk about at this point because we only have 2 Gungans.
But I think it's a solid ask. Like Brock is a super tester, right? And I know I've watched certain things from some of the other, like Otto to some of the other ones who have played with what Gungans can do, and I know it's there, right? But we don't know the true power yet of what it's going to be. I know protection up is a great thing. That's going to work for this team and being able to keep them survivable. And
it's about having high protection more than protection up, right?
Yeah.
But having the protection, I'm just referring to the protection, having them to be protected and then keeping it up. But we don't know what the third character is, right? And if that third character is GAC related, so I think it's right to put it on there because I think it has some pow and some impact. But we need to know what that third character is. 4 threes, because I agree with Dagger. Yeah. I would have thought so. I thought today,
I was meaning to axe it, but I didn't end up doing it. I was going to axe it from the things we didn't get the third Gungan announced today.
Hey,
but I thought we were going to get the third Gungan announced today.
You know how I am about lists. Like I saw you trying to skip a line, and my brain was like, I can't be having that. So it's like,
no.
yeah.
But I guess we didn't touch on it though.
Now,
go ahead. There though. No, but I think there is something there to do what it can do, and especially we're seeing Trench on defense, right? We know Trench Datacron is there. We're seeing it, and these are crushing steps. So don't sleep on what it can do, and especially with the right potency on Tarple to hold and stun the team down and lock the shit out of them. I expect to see steps. I expect to see stuff, and I think.
Wait, where did Tarful? I'm sorry, where did Tarful enter the conversation?
Tarpals. Yeah,
man,
he has a potency kick that kicked in. So
got it. No, it all makes sense. No, that guy's gonna be brutal, insane. Like he has a really good attacker's kit.
I specifically think there is play, especially. I don't know about 5s. We'll see because we'll get a bigger thing, right?
He gonna drop a Debigabooma.
I think it's actually going to come through and do things. I don't know about that defense, but an offensive tool, it's the way they're being built out. Yeah. The kit's coming together pretty nicely. I think there's more to come.
The AoE true damage from Boss Nass is extraordinary. I'm looking forward to it. It's true. Guys, a couple more notes. I want to head right into the Afra Java thing that Dagger brought up, but I know we had a comment here about thoughts about possible Bane nerf. As of the time of this recording, it's only a few hours old, but CG put out an announcement saying, "Hey, we looked at Bane. We heard you guys. You guys asked like, hey, is this what you guys expected? Because this seems like a lot." And CG looked at it here the last couple of weeks, and they came back out today and said, "Yeah, we're cool. We're cool. It looks good. We're satisfied with where it's at. It's cool."
Oh my god, so happy. One of the best.
That's how I read that message. Like they saw it and they're cool with what they're seeing. They
said
they're going to continue to monitor.
They're going to be actively monitoring.
caveat.
Yeah,
again, a little
that's
caveat,
that's that's
where they're talking
boilerplate
about the
language.
integrity of the game and all that.
Yeah, them
anticipate
saying they're
it
going to
here.
continue to monitor is boilerplate language because as long as the game is on,
They
they're
did with
going to
Freya.
continue to monitor it. But that being said, they've already done some monitoring and they came back with, yeah, nah, this is okay.
It's what they did with Treya. Just remember that.
It's fair, but at the same time, we were all rejoicing, and tell me one person who wasn't like, this is one of the best things we've had in a long time. And for
Me.
CG to come out and say,
I think it's a little broken.
It is a little. It feels a lot broken. I don't really. I personally don't care for the impact that Bane and Sidious with the Kron here will be making on the game. In that now you have like another 2 teams, offensive teams that are by nature of their initial configuration, if they work at all, they're working for superior banners than a max banner clear with 3 characters. Like that is. Again, that's forcing us to raise the floor, which I think this game has too little board space to be doing this kind of power creep this fast.
I agree. I kind of
That's a
view
whole
Bane.
other issue. Yeah.
I view Bane though as like ice cream and French fries and these kind of like sometimes what feels good, it's just not good for you. And I'm a little. I super enjoy Bane. It is a ton of fun. But then when I really reflect on it, what does it do for like GAC strategy? What does it do otherwise? Like, yeah, it's not healthy. It's really not.
Who among us feels okay when you stop and think about it? It's fun to use when you're attacking, but who like looking at it from both sides? Who among us feels really okay with the idea that Bane trivializes something of the grade of Riva or Leia?
So let me ask, I want to counter with this point because you're bringing this up. Everybody's bringing this up. One, we're the consumer. That's not our problem. We've had a problem with GAC and the size of the board and the way it's been for a long time. All Bane did was intensify the same feeling we've been having. But to have something that's actually fun to use, it didn't change. I understand your floor, right? I get what you're saying. We've had this forever. We've been saying this forever now, and that we're not talking like, oh, it's the last 6 months. We're talking years. We've continued to progress harder and harder and faster. They had to bring in data crunch. They had to bring in additional tools. What did they do? They gave us something that's fun to use, but realistically didn't change the fact that we need a solution.
Yeah, and to break down what Sasha said a little more analytically, and I think Brock and I have talked about this, maybe it wasn't Brock, maybe it was someone else, but it's like Bane is very powerful. Yes, when he came out, they told us he was going to compete with the best teams. Also, he was designed to be a 2-man team instead of a 5-man team. So instead of being 20% of the team's power, he's supposed to be 50% of the team's power. On top of that, he's not a particularly efficient team. He still gets you a 64-65. Right? So you're not really taking too much advantage of the underman efficiency.
Right.
Reasonable. I think it's reasonable as a team. I think it's unreasonable as a precedent. So
that's fair. I think that's fair.
I think it's well put.
No, please go ahead, expand. You had something, Sasha?
No. I think that's spot on. It just kind of more goes to the core underlying issue. And TJ was touching on this too. It's like the bigger issue of we just need more viable defensive strategies here with GSC. But
platform.
Yeah.
Literally. Like there are ways to make GAC remain the same level of, let's say, time commitment or strategic commitment while still expanding the board.
Hey, let's have a special note from you on that, because I don't know if you've caught the last couple of episodes here, but we've covered that topic in some exhaustive detail about this problem, what we thought might be some potential solutions. So you, as our special guest, I would love to hear what you think are some healthy solutions to the game for this problem.
The only change we ever had, other than to format to the structure, was adding teams, right, to zones that already exist.
Yeah, expanding the board, just straight up kicking the can.
That's not expanding the board for me. Why are we limiting it to 4 zones?
Right.
Okay. I see you.
And why does it have to be, if we're adding any zones, which is what I would do, they don't necessarily have to be in the conventional, symmetrical pattern either.
I love that, it's like my old man used to say, great minds think like me. We've talked about this here on this show. The notion, have I not brought it up, guys? The notion of a roving zone in GAC.
I think your head's stupid.
Aw. Well,
Hey,
fine.
you took my Patreon question. That's ridiculous.
Damn,
Tiger.
damn. You're cutting out TJ.
I think,
Damn.
but no, I think it's a good fact. I didn't even think about it, but it's true. Like, you could also do temporary zone bonuses, right? Or like faction bonuses. And,
or the roving zone. Like, to be
So I
clear,
think
for Brock's
cool.
sorry, no, I'll let you finish and I'll come back to it.
Well, TJ or me?
Yeah, TJ,
No, Brock, you.
TJ, sorry.
Oh no, I think Brock's on it, man. And like I said, I just wanted to add 2 cents to his 2 cents because I didn't even think about it, but it's like, yeah, I see it in other games having roving, like you're trying to roving zones, but like zone bonuses, right? Like Jedi, almost like a Datacron, but it's like this week in this zone, light side gets this, or they get insta kill factors, or some other BS that tosses a difference to the game maker. I think that's an awesome change. Because we have so many tools, right? Or you can only set one character, and you can only bring one character, and then you're gonna face off like you get your Super Sid. So the ideas like that are huge.
There's so many places you could take this, and to the point where you can have it change round to round, be a randomized set of 5 different layouts.
That would be awesome.
Right? You've got 5 different layouts, and you've got each round. You don't know until it's defense setting phase. I
like it. I like it.
Right?
Every round a different thing, not even changing up weekly. I like
think
that.
About this.
Wow.
You might have
the chaos would be extreme.
You might have it one day where suddenly you've got 4 rings of it that converge upon each other. So you don't get to zone 2. Everybody has to attack that first outer perimeter. Let's say there's 12 teams in one territory. You beat that, then you get into the center, the interior ring, all the way down to, let's say, one team in the very middle that you have to fight to clear the whole zone, right? And you could put, I don't care, put Fleet in its own little island.
A middle zone in GAC would be great.
Right.
Also, one thing that I've long asked for, mostly because of my long documented disdain for 3v3, just make one zone 3v3 and 2 zones 5v5. That'll really make people change shit up.
Okay.
Here's what's cool.
A reasonable alternative. I'm not mad at it.
I want to add one, right? Think about it. I'm going to take the conquest section. When we had those rounds of like the 5 heroes fighting the 5 heroes. So 5 team goes in and it's a 1-on-1 battle. And then who battles it out? And then if that defeats, and then it's a round robin on the team as well. Taking the concept of stuff they're already doing and just adding it to GAC. And then that, if you lose it, you lose.
Honestly, just bring back feats. Fuck you, CG. Just give us feats.
Feats demanded that you try things that may not be the best counter. Right?
Yeah, that's the one real thing we all didn't care for back then, yeah.
I like them.
Yeah, but
they affected your score.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
if you wanted that feature,
there's a balance to be struck with all of us who end up towards the higher end of GAC.
Hold on.
Score, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, fine. I think we can all agree that an alternative we could do is just having a goddamn battle pass like every other game like this. Give us feats in the battle pass. We can choose to do them or not.
I mean, we have them in Conquest after all.
Yeah, but to Brock's earlier point, like the thing is, like, if you were to have it in a battle pass, like, that just means that you're choosing to go about a fight differently in most other games. You're choosing to use a different weapon loadout, like in a Call of Duty, right? Like, you're choosing to go after an encounter that has certain types of bosses. If you have a daily thing to go after certain types of bosses.
No. So you're inferring that I'm talking specifically about GAC. I'm saying that if you did a fight with like Finn and First Order Stormtrooper, you can just do that in like Galactic War.
Okay.
It would just be do a fight with these people. You do it on Cantina node. I'm not.
I like the idea of giving it value.
Yes.
And somebody who has the hyper efficient approach has to weigh that against the person who might be less efficient but is a feat chaser, and the point total then isn't as clear cut as it would otherwise be. You
Let
add that
me-
more-
let me-
Yeah.
Let me entice this then, right? Let me add this. What if they added materials like Omicrons or something else to add to that battle?
Oh, hey,
No,
hey,
you
hey,
want-
hey!
no.
You want to bring rewards into the conversation,
I'm saying
my
to bring
G?
reward. If you're going to do the battle pass, and the person who's less efficient versus the person who's more, and the person who's less, you can either follow suit and get the better reward, or not and miss out. The FOMO is there. That's an easy sell for CG. They love FOMO. Create the problem and then give you the
Yeah,
solution.
but to your point, like they could have the best of both worlds. Like they could put that in on some other thing. Like I don't like to Brock's point, and the community's point at large. The reason why feats were not super duper popular is that you were incentivized by the feat to put yourself at a strategic disadvantage against your opponent. And like that doesn't feel good if you know what you're about. Like especially, it's like so you're telling me if I they may or may not ever bring this portrait or this title or whatever back around again unless I do this bumbling ass dumbass idea. Well, I guess I have to make a call.
So hold on. The reason I bring this all up is that we've all had that where I had an opponent put up an 1861, and I'm just like, I guess I'll just test shit, right? Like. I'm just pointing out, like, I'm just saying, like, GAC. I guess what I'm saying is, in addition to GAC needing changes, GAC is starting to enter into like the feel bad range.
You don't want to feel defeated before you fought your first battle.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So either add
I
fog
agree.
or something.
Yeah, especially if you see any of the feat related, if they did bring back feats, if you saw any feat related rewards that you felt personally were must have, and then and it's like historically that you don't know when the next time this is going to come around, so it's like okay, I'm gonna buy into this assuming it's FOMO, and you lose some rounds because of it. There's I mean. It just feels so bad. You don't have to have it that way. So I guess I never really thought of it that way. But there's no reason that they couldn't implement feats in other modes. And for we already have it in Conquest. But I mean, some other thing where you can earn these special portraits and stuff. Maybe you feature it first in Grand Arena. And you have it be limited release in Grand Arena. And then it becomes something that you can get more accessibly. Even if you put a delay on it. Like maybe it shows up 6 months later. God knows they've been willing to wait 6 months to release the second iteration of content in the past. So it is doable. I like it. By the way, guys, really robust discussion on this point. I like it a lot.
Yeah, but basically I'm with Brock, where it's like, I would just like to see a change, and I like his change with the roaming zones, too.
I think that's cool, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially with the center zone. The center zone makes me, what's the task thing where he does the farmer friend? My nipples!
Dude, just the actual just open clutching the nipples bare chested on the football field, under the light of the sun, in the full sight of God. Just
Well, I mean, right? As you progress, you've got to be strategic, thinking about what is there, and if you don't have what is needed there, you don't clear.
Well, here's the thing, right? They asked,
especially
in
surveys.
We had that survey go out, right, asking about damn Conquest Omicrons, but all of us are clamoring. And hold on, I'll explain it. I'll explain it. Everybody's clamoring for things and saying universally, we're all screaming out, we need change for GAC. No one's asking about an Omicron Conquest. So give us a survey, because that's a great idea. I think that's great. CG needs to hear these ideas, and maybe they're listening or maybe they're not. But if you're going to ask about something that no one feels is relevant, but you want to ask me a question, look at what everybody is saying. There's no way anybody's coming for feedback and saying, you know what's more important than changes to GAC? And Omicron for Conquest. Fuck is talking about that?
Yeah, I mean, I deliberately used their free text portion of the response for that survey. I went in specifically seeing, is there anything that's just sort of like open free text on it? I'm like, okay, yeah, there is. Perfect. And then I just typed out, basically, you need to enhance and invest in the GAC format of this game. That kind of ties to, because I think this is a really robust, thoughtful, and clearly energized conversation on this. The thing that strikes me as a player here is I'm not totally sure anybody's listening. I don't know that like Capital Games is focused on. I understand it's kind of like inherently opaque right now. Like they just don't have like a really interactive like community management system or anything like that. But I have no idea if something's coming. I have like as much faith as I have in the community, and this is perfect to like to this kind of point to have Brock on as a guest here, because it's like there are people like him out here who are doing like creative cutting edge stuff and like I don't know, like juicing up the game in different ways, different approaches. I'm like, I'm not totally sure that CG, who's really doing incredibly well at this game, is doing the same thing or kind of appreciates like how much we all value it. I don't mean to like be too dark and grim about it, but like, do you guys have any sense on that front of whether like
they hear you? You want Omicrons for conquest. They listened. They want your feedback.
Look, they gave me that like the last 5 years for Christmas. I've asked to be able to gift a guilty a $20 pack, and they finally accommodated me there.
Yeah.
So maybe.
For what it's worth, I think CG does listen, but I think the current problem, well, that, and they're focused more on the early to mid game people than the end game people, because we're going to buy whatever the fuck they put out
exactly.
anyway.
We're not a driver for revenue growth. We give the revenue we're going to give. Like, our spend has been reliable for some time in this neck of the woods. So that we're not a growth segment. We're not a focus for their attention. I feel you there. Like to what you're asking about. Like my thoughts on that, Sasha, is this is a mature mobile game. Perhaps one of the most mature in terms of not just age, but revenue per age, right? Revenue per years of existence. I don't know anything about mobile games outside of this. I never played a mobile game outside of Swugga. But like I know that, you know, like you have like Clash of Clans and others that have been like just absolute blockbusters for revenue and whatever over the years. As far as like CG's appreciation of this game, I think it should be fairly high right now, because they just closed their Lord of the Rings game, and this is I don't think outside of Swugga they have another major revenue driver. Like I think they have a serious business case in the health of this game. So to your point, looking after the long-term health of the game, which includes the top end by necessity, it does need to be some type of priority. But if you're one of the MBAs, if you're one of the suits in the room sitting around the table talking about the future of this mobile game, where it's already heading into unprecedented territory, I think, as far as like longevity and, you know, an actual health, because this is a pretty healthy game, all complaints aside. And I know that ultimately we all agree with this, because we're all still pretty gung-ho about this game. We all think that this game is still in a fairly healthy place, but we all intuitively recognize it could be better. They could do better, and I think that the incentives are such that they should do better. But I think that we're still okay. I think that we're still like long-term trending in the right direction. It's just like I think it was a patron or someone else just the other day said to me that CG is already having very serious talk internally about the future of GAC and what's going to be done. They're aware of the concerns. They're aware of the complaints of too much offense. And when we say too much offense, them as game designers, they understand that and they interpret that as power creep, which is what this is. This is power creep.
Hearing that, hearing that is just music to my ears. Like the fact that like somebody cares, like that's indirect, that's as like attenuated as it gets, but like I'm delighted to hear that like somebody's paying attention to this segment at least, like or possibly that they're thinking about it.
I have to counter it.
Sorry, PJ.
There's one big piece there, and it's the same thing we said about the whole damn GAC leaderboard. Telling somebody who gets a point that they're listening but doesn't come out to publicly state it is not listening. In a game where we need communication from something, it's just look, and I'm going to say like this: everybody who was saying this, Tass, who's at the top, everybody's at the top, we're all complaining about it. The minute we just got here's a crumb. Hey, we acknowledge it's a problem. Everybody jumped for joy because
Satisfied
they just
all of a sudden.
right, because it's like, just give me acknowledgement that you are aware. You don't have to give me the answer to the problem, just that you know that there's a problem.
No,
when a
you
company-
still have to give me the goddamn answer.
No, here's
But
the problem
but
with that. Here's the
it's-
problem with that. This is to their benefit though, because what it fosters is now you've got, let's say I decide I'm still wanting to complain about it. Well, now you've got at least half the population who otherwise would have been complaining about it coming at me telling me, well, they're aware of it now, right? As if to stifle that. So they actually push back all the negativity associated with that problem by the mere fact that they have acknowledged it without actually doing anything to address it. So it's a band-aid that lets them delay even further, in my opinion.
And the other black mark on this is, of course, your lack of intel, Sasha, your lack of understanding of where CG intends to take this game going forward is part of the FOMO strategy, right? Like, if you're not exactly quite sure where they're taking this, well, I guess then if you really wanted to be very well prepared for whatever in the future, I guess you'd have to shell out to have all the relic material,
I hear you.
and mod slicing material, and be ahead of the curve for whatever the curve is.
Look at Bo.
I totally hear it. At the same
release-
time, like
It's cynical, but it's possible. It's
yeah,
possible.
quickly on that, and then I'll hand it to you.
Please,
Brock.
please.
Like to that point, though, Tessa, so like I get it on like an individual spending basis, but like as a personal example for me, I have a friend that like in the last month or so, he real life friend and like a former colleague of mine who like enjoys games. I know would spend an insane amount on a game if they were interested in it, and they found out I played the game, and they're like, "Oh, this is fun." I said, "Yeah, there's an aspect of the game. There's a particular like one part of the game I really, really enjoy, and it's a really good community." And they asked like, "Oh, well, should I play the game?" And I kid you not, this would have been an insane amount of money for CG if I had said yes to this person. And I said, "No, I don't start. I don't think it's worth starting because I don't know where it's going. I don't, and here's how they've treated the player base." So like it does bite them in some ways. And I get on a kind of individual player, just that player in a vacuum basis, it's logical that they prey on that uncertainty or, the possibility. But like in referral, like at least in my world, like it certainly can cost them. Brock, sorry, over to you.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just meant look at how predatory they are in terms of what their cadence is with something like Bo, right? And those packs keep coming out, even though the event came back 3 times in the matter of 2 months, right? A month apart, but it was 3.
I think
the initial.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't want.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but they knew they were disrespectful about that with Bo because they gave some type of partial refund to everybody who went hard on the first go.
That was because of an error that they made in one of the packs.
Oh, never mind.
Half price.
Right. So I just want to comment on this. Right. I don't think we can use Bo. I think the reason we got Bo like we did, in all reality, is because we didn't hit the metric that we needed to hit for them, where they like, we expect this many people to have Bo. And when it didn't hit it, it came out again. And it didn't hit it, it came out again.
Yeah, but the underlying disingenuousness there is that like we the consumer are not obligated to care about their business case.
But that explains why it came out like this, though.
This event was unprecedented. We had never had an epic confrontation like this before, so there was no precedent for what to expect from this event. And the fact that it came back a month later like clockwork, then a month later, makes me feel like this was specifically planned to go this way because both Starkiller and Afra went directly into the tourney guide.
Interesting.
This feels incredibly intentional to force FOMO spending repeatedly.
I feel they come in off of numbers. They work off of the sheet. The
You're,
spreadsheet,
I
the
think you're
numbers
both
coming.
right. I think what Dagger's saying actually supports your underlying point, TJ. Like, if they had some type of
Well,
internal
TJ was
target
saying
for
that they
revenue
randomly
that they
decided-
didn't meet,
No, TJ's no. Correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, but you're saying that after it came out the first time, they then brought it back after a month to make more money. And I'm saying that going into
I
this,
know.
they 100%
saying-
intended to bring this back every month to create a FOMO
Okay.
2 to 3 times because they made more money off of Bo. You can tell by looking at their like monthly numbers than they did off of Cal.
I think I'm going off of the point that they come in with an expectation that there's this many players playing the game, and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about a metric. They say so if we have, I don't care, 10,000 players, right? I'm just going to give a base number. They expect 1,000 players of the 10,000 to meet this metric. To say they have this end game to sprinkle it out there, right? Because then that sprinkles to the base. There was talk of that with JK. There was talk about it with the other ones. I don't think we hit the metric that they were saying that was going to be in game. So then they adjusted. It's like, all right, we'll just put it out there again, and we'll just
I don't
sprinkle
think
some
that's
more out
true
there.
because
I mean,
that's true.
Dagger's entire point is about the cadence of the second
Right.
and third iteration
and
of it,
exactly
which
how
implies that
paywall
it
this
was
the first time.
planned.
I
Yeah,
personally
just-
think that it was pre-planned.
Yeah.
That it's preying, and I use the word predatory for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fair.
Preying on the expected cadence that, let's say, softer spenders or Dolphins would have, and thereafter free-to-play would have with the second and third releases respectively.
I can,
where
but this,
they planned for hold on. They planned for
Go ahead.
2 or 3, and suddenly 2 comes sooner, and 3 comes sooner, and that forces the hand of that, even that extra 20, 30, 50 for that particular person, forces that extra revenue stream. I think that it's completely calculated. I really do. And it's evidence in their other. It's evidence in EA's other
I'm
games
going to
too.
actually
by the way.
use. I'm going to
I
use
also
Dagger.
think that this
I'm
was-
actually.
I
actually
Well,
want
I
to
also
use
think
you,
that this
Dagger.
is an experiment because I think this is exactly how they're going to sell Jar
Experiment's
Jar
fine.
as well.
Experiment is
Right,
fine,
because-
but I'm going to use
No.
Dagger.
But I think this is I think this is how they're going to do Jar Jar too because they can't
That's
have Jar
fine.
Jar come back in 3 months because then the rate is irrelevant for half the player base because they have to wait.
No, I'm okay with your saying that this is an experiment. That makes total sense.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna
I think
use
this was
you-
a successful
Hold
experiment.
on. That's fine, but I'm going to use.
Yeah,
I want to
sorry.
use you, Dagger, as the person who did not get Bo on the opening, and then built your stuff around getting it the second time with the expected impact, right? So to your point, in what
Well,
Brock
that's
is
not
saying,
how I
like,
prepare though. No,
but
that's not how I prepare.
but
I don't prepare
Yeah.
for it knowing when it's going to come back. I just do my thing and get to it when I get there. And this one I just happened to get there like 4 days before Bo came out.
What I'm saying is you built, and you were one of the people who were. I'm not going to get it the first time, so it's going to come back. It usually comes back at this point. So you were building your whole resource management around getting it
But I was
whenever it
still
came for the
refreshing.
second time.
But I was still
that's not what I'm-
refreshing to get it
but
done
that's
as quick
not
as
what
possible.
That's not what I'm saying. I agree with successful experiment. That totally tracks. I'm utilizing you, not me, as a player base. I'm going with the worst case scenario, so I'm going to get everything early. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I've seen what they did to me with JKR. I'll go all the way down the history. It's like I'll never miss out because I'm not going to be that guy. That's where I'm at. That's who I am. So I'm that one. You were doing calculated processing of trying to have everything in line so that when it came out, and then they screwed it up with the timetable, and you're like, all right, well, I'll just get it on the second time when it comes out, and you were planning your game around the resource management to make sure that you could accurately get everything in place so when it came out, least amount of money
He
spent.
was pushing for it the first time I recall. He was pushing
Yeah, I
for
was
it.
pushing for it,
the first
and then I
time.
just didn't stop after I missed.
So
Because I
his
was already
start
close to
point
the
was in
end,
a
and I
much
just
better
wanted to wrap
spot.
it up. Yeah, I just wanted to wrap it up and move on.
Yeah,
So I
no,
didn't
it's-
slow down because I thought I could. I just finished it up.
But
And
you
it
were
just happened that me, and it just happened that me pushing to finish it up happened to coincide with the second return.
Let's just say this: like leaving CG aside as an individual entity, it's not going to come as a shock to us that in industry, in the mobile gaming space, you're telling me that a company is willing to be predatory, a capitalistic company
Forget
in the
about
mobile
CG, though.
gaming space is
It's
willing to have
EA.
predatory
They've done it
practices?
before. They've done
Yes.
it before. This is their MO.
Yeah, I'm not
They've
terribly
had losses
surprised
in FIFA.
myself. Like
Look at
I
FIFA. You
understand
want
what
to
you're
see where this game's going
saying.
with that.
I understand what you're
And
saying, TJ.
they literally testified in front of the UK Congress or England Congress, calling it, instead of a gambling system, calling it surprise mechanics.
Right,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, that I think that
I
was
like that.
actually for
And double
EU
down on that,
regulatory
too, which is-
purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calling it an experiment that was successful. 100% agree. That tracks perfectly to say
What do you
because
do
of
with
the
successful
raid.
experiments?
You
No,
repeat
that's what
them.
I'm saying.
You
You
repeat
make
them to
them
verify
practice
the
policy.
veracity of their
Well,
results.
But I mean, if we're
Yeah.
going with that, this is unprecedented what they're doing with the Gungans as well. So that's just the whole. That's just the
Yes,
whole. We're
but
going
that
down
is
a
so
different-
brilliant. I love that.
And
I love that
FOMO.
they
But
have
it's
that
also
drip
Also,
drop.
these marquees are also predatory, and I know Brock
Yes.
and I can talk about this for a
FOMO.
while.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You're right, guys. It's brilliant. It's brilliant FOMO because it isn't the pure punitive FOMO of buy this with no added extra incentive or eat ass for 6 months at a time. Like it's actually
You don't know how long you're going to eat ass.
Well, yeah, but
Could
it's
be-
not going to
could
be.
be
But
30
I'll tell
days,
you
it could
what,
be
you're not
180
eating
days.
ass for less than
Just
6
get
months.
Just get used
Look
to the
at
taste.
GI. Look
But
at
at-
GI. I mean,
It's the candy bar at the cashier, right? You're leaving out the door, and here's this candy. Come get this candy. Buy two get one free. It's right there for you. So I agree with
except
the
you
predatory
can't. You
part of
come back and the candy's not available anymore for some people.
it. But that's what it is, right? It's at the door. Don't leave without buying two. You know,
Right,
buy two, get one free.
because you don't know. You don't know if they're going to sell candy the next time. Yeah.
But that's so. I understand it, but like I said, so to the point of experiment, sure, and the point of them testing the waters with this to see what the revenue is going to be because of we're making it that much cheaper to get, which means we're going to get that many more people. Also true. I don't disagree with it. Like I said, it's just all things like that. Experiment sounds perfect.
Well,
What they were
it's
trying
all
to
good,
accomplish.
and we've heard all sides on this issue. So now it's my job to be the good shepherd and take us on to the next
I
topic.
tried.
No. Hey, look. I mean that's what they pay me for, right? I guess like that's the expression. But impact.
You're getting paid for this?
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say that.
fabulous question. The answer is no, but it's a labor of love,
Not
and
he's-
here I am giving
He's
my
like, not
love.
yet. YouTube isn't monetized. Not yet.
No,
Yeah,
no. By the way, all you guys watching out there, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. We're closing up on 500. There's like that first tier of monetization at 500, but the real deal stuff opens up at 1,000. We're closing up in on that first benchmark, guys. So I really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. As always, the likes and the comments, I'm always checking on a daily basis. So love hearing the feedback. Brief aside there, but guys, fabulous discussion here. This last segment, I want to move to our next thing. We covered everything about Bane, about the stuff that was as we turned the page on the last season. But completing that thought, we lost set 12. We'll
Thank
miss
God.
we'll miss the stats. We'll miss the armor pen. We'll miss the level 3 with the stacking offense. But as far as major impact to our roster, the biggest loss is going to be the Jabacron and the Afrocron. And so that brings us to our shiny next topic. What do you feel about the impact about losing those two? I mean, just me myself. As far as Java goes, I don't know that I'm going to use it that differently. Like maybe the only matchup that will give me pause is Leia, because what made Leia such a song is that you had so much turn meter to lap her. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it quite the same way. I think it's something I'm willing to try, but we'll see how it goes, and maybe I'll stick with it. As far as Afra goes, I really don't know that my plans are going to change, with the sole exception of the Afra versus Saw matchup. As long as this Saw Chirrut, team is here with the Chirrut Kron, and we've got that set 13 Kron active, what made Afra even a viable choice for something as low as a 61 this last 5 season against Saw was with that Afra Kron. So without it, I'm probably not going to risk that. But as far as Afra versus Jabba, It's not that it's back on the menu, boys. It was always on the menu, boys. It was there before set 12. It's here after set 12. We're here for it. What do you guys have to say?
Quick clarification on that, Task. Would you say that for threes confidently as well? I understand it's five.
I was doing it before.
Yeah,
I don't see why not.
I'm
Now,
using
well,
your
hold on. I mean, doubt is a significant jam, and if you're going to rotate your Jabba into a doubt cron now to support the, now that you don't have set 12. I think that's probably a losing gambit for Afra. So fair
I'm going to
point.
speak for the plebs, all right? I'm going to speak because Dagger has said it and I've said it. Everybody has said this. Cass, you have some high relic, big bombastic bullshit setups.
Some Apex shit. Some Apex shit
so
on
you
my
can't
Afra
use it.
BT1 and
I'm not gonna
000.
use that.
No bullshit.
No, I'm actually in Caster's corner on this. It still works. You just got to not be poor, TJ.
Oh,
Nine your Afra.
fuck, man.
You must, as I always say, TJ, you must exercise proper technique. You have to open the wallet. You have to open the wallet. You have to open the wallet to the proper degree, the proper angle.
That's what I love about it. Whenever we talk about it, it's like, yeah, Afra worked, and Dagger is like, no, it didn't. That shit didn't work.
No, I've actually gotten it to work. I R9 my Afra and I put a proc triangle on her. So I've actually been getting it to work.
Hey, my man.
I'm gonna go with this one though. I think Dowd has a lot to play though. I think Dowd has a big role to play where it can do more. Though. I'm not gonna,
especially in threes.
I didn't have to call it out. But this is where it's like I do think it's there. To your point, Sasha, when you're asking does it work? It's like Doubt is still a huge level 3 for so many teams out there. It's like we lost at 12, which is it had some fun and some flair. Doubt is a monster, dude. I'm sorry, Doubt makes the world go round for so many different things.
It's true.
And to TJ's point, really quick, unless you put like the effort in both relics and mods into the team, it has a pretty high ceiling, but don't
pretty low floor too.
Yeah, TJ's and Brock too. Yeah, they're right. Like it's still going to be a really good team, and maybe the Afra versus Jabba, even with doubt, when both sides have doubt, just like don't do it. But against like Saw, like it may fall under a don't try this at home for some of you because you're not quite there. Yeah. I wouldn't try it with our 5 BT1 and Chip 0 is all I'm trying to say.
How about the rest of you? How are you pivoting?
I mean, are we limiting this to Afra and Jabba, or are we?
I mean, if you have other observations about the passing of set 12 that you think are going to impact your GAC meta decisions, by all means expand. But I think most of us would agree that Afra and Jabba were like the worthwhile, like the biggest takeaways from set 12.
So for me, is another team that I use to beat both Afra and Jabba with their set 12 crown. That's Tuscans.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you another one I watched. I'll give you another one that Brock does. I'm not as great as Brock in it, but the Scoundrels. Brock was a monster with the dash teams with the Scoundrel crons and killing things and punching up to God knows what. But I would also call that modding and relics.
Hey, Brock, now that it's all in the past, now that set 12 has been dusted, did you have any final thoughts on what your highest punch-ups were? This is a great guess question. Like, if for set 12, now that it's gone, what were your best punch-ups with set 12?
Tuskens versus Jabba.
Tuskens versus Jabba. Solid.
Yep. Nice. Consistently, too.
And was there any trick to that? Banners.
Yeah, don't use Warrior's Third and lose momentum because one thermal will kill you because of all the crit damage you've stacked up.
Yes. Can you explain that to people? You explained this to me a few weeks back here about how thermal detonator damage is actually calculated, and that is a fantastic tidbit for the folks at home.
So, you are your own worst enemy is the way I would phrase it. The more damage stat on a cron that you've got, the more that thermal is going to hurt you.
The more damage you have on your character, not what's being done to your character, but in fact what you're bringing into the fight, your mods, your datacron, your offense on your character.
your buffs.
Your buffs, all of it.
Okay, because that thermal once Boosh tosses her special damage at you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Once that thermal's on you, it's doing physical though. That's not part of her kit.
Is it,
The thermal.
okay? Okay.
The
I thought it
thermal.
was. I thought it was always kind of like. I guess I kind of just assumed that as like as a percent health damage that thermals are. I assumed it was kind of a true, but I get if you're telling me it's calculated as physical and mitigated by armor,
Well, it
I can
crits.
believe
It
that.
crits. It crits.
Well,
The higher-
okay, so
it
if it
crits.
crits, you're saying
Thermal's
by
crit.
definition it can't be true damage if it crits. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A, by definition, and but B, your crit chance, right? The coding for the thermals indicates that it's physical damage. The damage itself is physical damage, right?
But the percentage
based-
chance for it to blow up and critically strike is based on the receiver of the thermal, not the caster of the thermal, right?
Correct.
That was mind blowing to me.
But heck, I've gone up against Jabba with a 160% crit damage Crom before. Let me tell you, and this was well before set 12. I was seeing, 2 thermals killing my my team, just outright blow them to bits. 2 thermals, because if you've got that much crit damage, and it's suddenly hitting you for, 180k a pop, and you're wondering, how am I doing that kind of damage? How's that doing that to me? And then you go in with no Datacron equipped at all, and you're like, okay, I just took 8 to the face. This doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah. So you play tested it out to confirm, in fact, that the damage that you take from thermals is increased by the recipient's offense and critical strike chance. That is
with
a
crit
huge.
being the absolute most devastating to you.
Now it's physical crit then because it's physical damage.
Correct. Which is higher even for special damage targets, right?
So,
For special damage unit.
in our neck of the woods, where most characters are attacking characters or relic 8, the critical chance is going to be like 80% up.
Yeah.
That's nasty. That's
Exactly.
a nasty bit of business.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, we're all glad that the level 9 Bausch is gone and the cooldown on Inventive is a little bit longer. So we'll take the money and run.
Yeah, it just means, that the I win button, so to speak. Yeah, the fail condition for Afra was almost always something that was taken out of your hands anyway, right? Frankly, if you were in the least bit competent in your approach, it wasn't up to you whether or not it failed. If
RNG conspired such that they blew up your Afra,
right.
Well, hey, you know what? You gave it the damn college try.
Right. I mean, I had the unfortunate situation of my Afra getting bulldozed and surviving, but because she had that damn disarm on her, dismember, technically, right? And had a couple dots. Her turn came, and I'm like, oh no, that bonus turn is really gonna hurt. And she didn't die to thermals; she just fell, right? The dots. And there was nothing I could have done differently. And I know everybody here has had that situation inexplicably happen, whether it's in GAC, TW, 3s, 5s. It's just, what do you do?
Yeah.
Now, I believe at least it comes back to a bit more of a skill-based, standardized approach where you have control over the fight, and you may have more fails in the aggregate, but I don't think you'll have as bad of fails overall. And I do think that you'll have it open up more counters. I think you'll see Jabba on defense more, even if he's easier to kill per se because it's opened up the available counters. Because I think he'll do a better job of banner bleeds moving forward.
Well, especially with Doubt. No, I think the defensive posture favors him. As opposed to, like, yes, by all means, go ahead and use your Afra against Jabba, your counter depending on gaining bonus turn meter, whereas, while I have Doubt, you won't be gaining bonus turn meter. Like, you can do that if you want to do it, bro. Go for it.
And more power to you if you succeed.
Yeah, also
frankly,
that,
right?
yes.
But by and large, the reason why people didn't put Jabba on D, other than it's the offensive use that became prevalent against Leia, which some people believe that hey that's been diminished, and I would agree, is because what's the point? Might as well take him on offense because it's just going to get Afred. Well, that's not exactly a given anymore.
Yes.
So you have to have something competent and capable that's not so cheap.
And decently high spec, if I'm being honest, because, like, you just not. I mean, learning all this now about how thermal damage is actually based on the recipient's stats. I mean, God, your entire Afra team is loaded out to be just ungodly amounts of damage. So yeah. Gosh, that was such a big change for me to understand that, because I had it completely wrong about those thermals. Don't let me
Yeah,
hog
they're
this
vicious.
up, guys. Anything else you guys wanted to throw in about the passing
Rip
of the
Tuskens,
Afra and
that's
the
all I have to
Jawas?
say. Rip Tuskens.
And CLS.
And Rip
CLS
Tuskens,
being-
Rip Tuskens. Okay, all right. To Brock's point, we got to honor our guest here. I mean, Tuskens weren't nothing.
Oh, yeah.
The reason why they don't even get an honorable mention here from me is
They'll put them on D.
For me, I just treated them the same. Yeah, like in fives, I almost didn't use them, and where I did use them, I used them on offense. In threes, they have long since been like an almost GL equivalent team. In metas of the past, whether or not you had the Omi, Treya could take it out. It's not been the case for at least this last Tuscan thing. Like, you want to go in there in threes with your Treya, you have to be willing to accept that
Right.
about 20% of the time you're just going to get sunset.
And I will say the one thing, and then I'll pass it off, is
Please.
the one Thrawn faction that I'm most upset about. Don't laugh. Is Jawas.
Oh, that was so much fun. Yeah.
I'm not
Because
laughing.
Yeah.
It truly
Because they
brought
did
me
serious
enjoyment
business.
to the game.
Yeah, the Star Killer Killer. It was so much
know,
fun to watch, man. The Star
It brought
Killer
me
Killer.
enjoyment.
Oh.
Banners be damned.
Yeah.
Sometimes it cost you banners, but oftentimes it was actually pretty solid.
And as a strategic measure, you choosing to take a reduced banner, not like a 65 and 5s, like not a completely full banner clear on offense, enabling you to 67 something else, or to fully clear something that you were otherwise maybe going to have to do like a tactical 2-shot. It's absolutely worth it.
And it was fun.
Jawas were cool.
It
man.
brought you
Jawas were
enjoyment.
cool.
I don't know anybody who.
Yes, and
didn't
of course
have
there's
that
the big
enjoyment
boomer factor. Yes.
I'm going to say one
at the end
thing,
of the day,
though.
it's a game, right? We want to have fun too.
I have to bring it out that the one good thing I think that can't nobody discount from the Tuskens, as long as there's something dark side going on, especially in threes, Tuskens will reign. Tuskens are still a terror. There's doubt now to play with that team. They're still going to be monsters, and so I like Brock's point about Jawas because they were killing Maul Mandos. They were having a good time destroying stuff and getting good banners. That was cool. That was something where it was like, that was rare to see. So I didn't even think about it, but seeing that first time the Star Killers are defense, like, I don't know what I'm going to take against it. Oh, we'll just take Jawas for a 65. Like, are you serious? Like, yeah, it's so much fun. It's like, that's enjoyment. But Tuskens aren't dead. And that's the great thing I think about this team.
It's still going to be
Brock's
good.
point is, it just transitions into a different good. They're still a monster, and in threes, man, you can't sleep on that team no matter what you do.
I don't think it's going to be doubt.
No,
because actually it's count. Because think about it, I want that opponent to actually get TM. I want you to generate TM. That's how I.
Well, it's true.
Dominate
Yeah,
you,
that's true.
right?
I
think you might find the 2% health damage being the move there, because those dots are going to be doing some monster.
I can see that too. Okay,
I'll verify it.
No,
but I'm
I can
almost
see
certain
it.
that each dot has is independent.
I like the fact, and the reason I want to comment is for me, I'm a fan of the Tuskens because they don't go away. You don't get to just go. It's like, well, the Kron is gone. It's like, you don't get to sleep on them.
I mean,
like
they were
that.
non-existent for the first 7 years, so
Right, but now,
Yeah.
but what they are now is there are still, when it comes to threes, one thing you have to take into account of what you're going to bring for that defense or offense is like Tuskens. And if you're doing something to it, it's like I don't get to just sleep on them. They are still a force to be reckoned with.
It's true. Kron or no? Kron
That
or no?
Raider Ami in GAC is so good that
Mm.
it keeps me from really being pissed off about the Chieftain Ami, which I never use. So,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm
It's
like-
the Yodas of the world. It's the GMY.
Exactly.
When you have Bass came out, because it was like, yeah, you could have this, and I have it too, right? But it's like, yeah, I'll never use that, because if you're putting
That's
it
fine.
together with that Raider, it's like there's no, if you see that and you have a DVB on there, it's like, thank God, there's no Raider. Oh, this is easy. Nothing for me to worry about.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I know that we still have a decent little bit of ground to cover, so I'm gonna move us forward here off of that. Moving into kind of the Datacron section of the show here. So Max Health and Prot and Health Steal are back on the menu, boys. Now, again, I know we already plugged the Datacron Set 14, so for specific thoughts from myself and Aesop about, this new set and how you can prepare and what to look for, what to go for, you can get in pretty exhaustive detail over there on that video, so look for that one. But I'm interested in what you guys think about what are the ramifications of bulk and Hellsteel, which is, I guess we're talking about survivability, higher end survivability coming back into the game. We've had this game now with high offense from set 12 and armor penetration, and now we have doubt denying turn meter and buffs and prot. What about good old fashioned bulk? Where do you think this makes a difference into your planning for 3 versus 3 in particular?
Well, one thing I'll just to dive in quickly. I mean, there are a number of different examples out there, but like a little bit of return of relevance for JML that combined with the Jedi faction being here, and I really on offense felt some limitations without having any active set that had protection as a stat on it for JML.
Yes, great call.
Who's already a little bit disadvantaged GL anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I do think that. So protection is going to have several other applications, but I'll call out. I actually miss having Health Steal active, and I never expected to. But like, there are a number of different things, like whether it's SLK on offense
Mind your tongue.
or I know, right?
Everyone else, where you say no one loves you.
This is why the world hates me. But
no, it's okay.
But that Health Steal can be surprisingly helpful or a pain in the ass at times, and so even that I think has got some relevance.
I think when you're saying helpful, you added air quotes when you were saying that, right? Helpful.
I don't know how many times you guys have been in situations where you're using SLK on offense and GAC, and it's like you're kind of accepting, look, it's SLK on offense, it's going to be a little bit bloody or whatever, and it's like that the whatever opposing GL is about to have an ultimate or whatever, and your SLK has probably got one more shot in him, and you're like, God, I just need to make sure he gets back up to full health with this. Mm-hmm. And that's where, historically, I've used SLK with a high health steal Datacron, and I missed having that because,
all right, so,
go ahead, TJ.
So you got an option back on the menu. I like it, yeah.
You have to. It's fine that you have that. When you say health steal, who do you think of? When you think of GLs and threes,
Ray. Complete age.
Everybody.
Right.
That's what that's what I'm saying. The minute you say health steal is the minute you're saying Ray. It's basically like putting that shit as peanut butter and jelly.
No,
we are in a Ray world right now. So having a Raycon,
abandon all hope, all ye mortals who enter here, because I've seen the Kron with 50% offense and 50% health steal for Ray. I done seen it already. It's out there. It's gonna be. It's in the wild. So get ready.
I think we can all agree on the only time I'm ever happy to see health steal on defense is if I'm about to slacker somebody's Lord Vader. Outside of that, if I ever see health steal at more than 50%, I'm just like, you're not seeing it, but it's like slump your shoulders, hang your head. Hey, let's do this.
Yep. And in a world where Ray, for every person who dies or whatever it is gaining ample offense. and more and more, and it's only getting worse.
Mhm.
And now it's like, oh, we heard you like puzzles, and we heard you like having Ben and Ray, and then Ray to Ben, and then let's amplify that, and let's make a Ray Ben, and let's bring it all back, and then let's stack that up and see how you like, and now let's give you Hellsteel on top of it.
Now,
I can honestly say
Mhm.
that every time Hellsteel has been on a Datacron, it has not been a particularly healthy meta. For various
Yeah,
reasons.
I know what you mean by that. It gets staler sooner than you would expect. And I do see that.
Yeah. Because some teams just make so good a use of it. Like
Yep.
teams that work off their health pool just
yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
rush.
Oh,
That's true.
they're in the yellow now. Oh, it's in the red. It's almost dead. How the fuck did it get back to the green? Oh, what's the hell still on the Datacron? Okay, let's start over. And let's just bring this back in now.
I'm good. Ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and I want to, unless anybody else had something they wanted to throw in on top of the pile there. Sorry, go ahead.
I think GLs will get a little bit of a nudge forward with the bulk. Maybe not this coming up season because doubt exists for like things like Java specifically. But I do think that bulk does advantage GLs because a lot of the cheesier counters rely on killing the sides in a fast enough manner to which you can actually spend 4 minutes trying to kill the actual GL.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having extra health and protection on Datacrons does specifically aid in helping GLs, which in 3v3 they need less help, but in 5s I think they need a lot more help.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also nice that I guess not nice, but the other piece is Armor Pen is gone, and Armor Pen helped with a lot of that too. That was always a good solver.
Yeah, surely you'll be seeking offense roles to substitute for where you were relying on armor penetration.
But now we're hitting at face value now, right? And I think that's the difference, right? We're adding offense, we're starting to hit at face value where the Armor Pen would be the secret to get through the fog, right? It's like, all right, they've got all of this health and protection. Well, at least I got the Armor Pen to push past it. And then you do, like Tiger said, 2 SLK is a great call out. He's ramping up. That Armor Pen is just going to slap the shit out of you, and then it's going to come
Armor
back.
Pen with offense stacking being gone and the introduction of, some thickness simultaneously, I think gives a net plus to GLs, particularly, GLs that were otherwise being off meta. Again, Java being the best example that comes just immediately to mind. That protection up, that high health, that protection up is going to be a bit more.
Yes. Yeah. Now you say that. I guess it'll have to be something that we play out whether or not it's actually worth dropping doubt just for stats like that. That's an interesting thought.
I think it's cool because you can see that why I really like the dark side right now is that you can use both. Depending on the team and depending on the situation, you can play the fight differently between the next 2 weeks, right? This week I put on doubt. Next week I don't. I've changed positioning. I changed up something with the team, and now I put this cron on, which is going to change the fight, right? Maybe it's doubt on. So the point of what Brock just said, which I think is great. Last week I put doubt on my Tuskens. This week I did the health percentage effect, which changed up the fight. You go on doing something, and then that makes you lose the fight because you're not paying attention to what's happening. Just those little tweaks to the match, and that catches what? I don't care. Almost everybody gets caught one way or another by something small tweak. That's just weren't looking at that.
It's true, and I mean, most of us here ascribe to the idea of putting like new things on defense and letting our opponents figure it out. But for all the folks at home, like be I think you profit most in terms, like, if you want to be like experimenting with stuff where you really have no data, no idea where it's going to go and how it's going to do, be wild in your week 1. Take the lumps that you're going to take from it, but gain the intel that you got through your own hands fighting that fight. Because you're going to have that extra leg up on those folks in week 2. They're going to look up on GG and see that the match was done with X team and it took this much time. But they're not going to know the nuance like you did. So take the risk.
But what you do is you also get you a Brock. If you have a Brock in your back pocket, there's been many times. Having a Brock is a great tool because there is a lot of shit being tested. That man is a test machine.
Brock, you're just going to take that? You're going to let this man call you a tool to your face? Damn.
I'm just average
Just a tool.
The fuck
Damn.
you are.
weak lead host.
Also-
Like,
Also, screw them. They don't need a Brock. What do they need to? I don't want them to have somebody you test. Screw them.
I'm sorry for giving out the tips and tricks of the group, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you got you a thud steal? Well, I've got a thud steal. You don't have the thud steal, so you fuck yourself.
Yeah,
you get out of my house right now. You ain't cool. You
Yeah.
ain't cool, bro.
Now we're close. We're close to the end of the main segment of the show. I don't know if any of you guys are looking to jump off very soon here, but we've got maybe one more regular question, then we're going to jump into the Patreon questions. So you guys start to let me know if we're heading off into the tasks. I need to jump ship kind of territory. But the last.
For your Datacron, right? And you were asking for the Datacron set, what it is, what we're going to do on it.
Well, the last question I had from the main things is, what do we see as the can't miss crons or the sleeper crons in this set? Now, originally the spirit of this question was like if you could only have 2 or 4, like between 2 and 4 level 9 Datacrons for the first week of 3v3, which would you get? But I think here, just to be brief, so that we can cover the Patreon questions properly, tell me one cron. It can either be one you see as a sleeper or one you just see as overtly dominant. But you get to pick one and stump for it here and now. Dance, monkey, dance.
Hopefully CJ picked something better than Bodhi this time.
Okay, all right.
He was all about that Bodhi, wasn't he?
I still am, dude. I wish
he's bitter
really
about
wanted
that.
To use it, dude. It was so bitter about that.
He wanted it to be.
Good, dude.
He wanted it to be something, and it was never going to be something.
The cheer and Biggs one's just outshone it by so much.
It's just the meta we're in, dude, where you can't play with the toys you want to play with the way you want to do it. It's unfortunate because I was so on it, man. And it was like, thanks to KP, showed me the way, and it's like from there, it's like, man, it's so much fun to have. It really is good.
All right, but now, shame on you. Now talk about your set 14 level 9 that we can't miss on. Enough about your regrets.
Can't miss.
Yeah, pick one.
Or
you get one.
Go ahead. I'll wait for the last. Go ahead. Somebody else go ahead.
I think it's an easy one. I think it's.
These aren't hard, guys. I'm serving you up here on this one.
Hot protection cron for JML, make him relevant. That's my pick.
I see you piggybacking on Sasha there from earlier, but I respect it because it's legitimate. It's a very legitimate.
I'm with Brock here.
We've all lamented the loss of Prot for use with JML, so I agree.
With Prot.
He's a GL who is getting dunked on by you name it without protection.
Mm-hmm. That's a very fair point. Well, thank you, Brock. Don't make me round robin you guys, because I will. Speak up on it.
Mine is going to be a fun one. I think the Dooku one could be a sleeper.
Real. Let's hear about it. Because now, when Dagger says this is going to be a sleeper, everybody's intuitively understanding that for most folks, especially in 3 vs 3, where you're using Separatist, and we're not talking about GG, you're talking about a Trench lead team, probably with Dooku and Watt, and with Trench Datacron on deck, you're mostly talking about Trench lead. So now expand on that, Dagger.
Yeah, I just think that Dooku does a fair amount of damage, and then getting the up to 200% stacking CD, and then if you can find additional ways to put him in stealth, oh boy, right? Because he recovers 100% prot every time he goes into stealth.
Okay, all right, I see
and with
that.
Health steal and prot on these crons,
a sleeper
and again, I don't
indeed.
know what uses you're gonna have for him. I just think in 3s he's gonna be fun. Like I know Tash remembers those old. Remember the old Dooku, Talzin, Django team?
Yes.
Right.
That was fun.
There was some fun stuff we used to do back in the day with him.
Well, and even just this last season, I mean, I've had it happen to me where I've had Django just stripping banners, Dooku stripping banners, hitting underneath protection with riposte and whatever.
My beloved Dooku lead Malik Watt team now has a level 9.
Yeah, you do.
I love that team. It beats Rex.
That's a good notion.
So much shit.
That's a good notion for going wide in 3s. So that's another thing that I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with. That as far as we're like in this efficiency and one-shot meta stuff, whether we're talking about 3s and 5s, setting increasingly lesser teams on defense. And it's like, yeah, no, I know you plan to 65 this good team, so now you can 65 this team. You know, have fun with that. So it's a fair point. All right, we got Dagger. We got Brock. Come on, guys, jump in the pile.
I'll jump in with a 1A and a very lowercase b on it. But the 1A is just that the Jedi 100% offense when they have full health level 6. I just, it's such a broad faction. There's so many different combinations that you can muster. Generally, as a faction, it's designed to have high survivability and resilience. And when you can really bolster, how many different ways does the Jedi faction have to bring its members up to 100% health, right? Or to ensure its health. So to get it to hit hard, I think that's got some cool meaning to it. That's definitely my 1 or the 1A. If I had to do a little 1B, which is at best marginal relevance, but just kind of it's in the back of my mind, could this thing do something for me? I doubt it. But the Geonosian Spy level 9, as goofy as it sounds, just because the nature of the Geonosian squad under GBAs, they're always attacking out of turn. And if you have one of them that is consistently in every single turn of theirs regenerating 20% health and protection, then you're in threes, you're effectively, every time they move, they're getting 7% health and protection, or 6 2/3. It's a meaningful amount because they balance again when an enemy goes. That there's something with Spy, and that's super marginal. It's just going to help when you have to break glass, go to a Geonosian cleanup or whatever. But there's something small there. There are much more impactful ones, but that was one that struck me.
All right, that's a good one. All right, TJ, how about you? What you got?
I'm going to go with the one that I think is going to have the most impact for especially week 1. I want to go with 2, but if we're going to go with just 1.
You got to go with 1.
And that's what,
them's the rules.
Ray. I'm going to go with the Ray. I think the Ray is going to fuck with everybody.
Really? The Raycron.
Go with the monster that is 3. There's the Tuskens are a monster. The other look. You're giving me 1 in the corner. I love this set.
I did.
Right? I love this set. Dude, there are so many. This is the set of level 9. I love.
No doubt.
So many of them are awesome. But if you're going to tell me 1, and yes, I'll take the hindering, but it covers the most people. The Raycron is going to be bananas, especially if you build it where you lose a person, and now she's even Ray squared, or she's now Super Ray, even further. That's the stuff of nightmares. All right. And we have health still, so thank you, Sasha, for commenting on it. And we have health still to play with it. You're telling me to put it like this. I think the most impact is going to be Ray is already a lot of impact, and she always has been. And now she has her Kron again, a GL with the Kron.
I'm delighted to hear you say that, because for my part, my Kron, I thought I was going to be so pedestrian and obvious, but I was going to say Holdo, because Holdo has been such a state of disuse for such a long time. Yeah. We haven't given her any serious thought, and the fact is her kit's actually quite good. It's just been outclassed for such a long time, and now they've just sprinkled on a little bit of extra, ground up, ramen packet spice right up on top of it, and it's I think your Ray, Swolo, and Holdo are intuitively one of probably going to be my default teams for this upcoming 3 season, because the Holdocron language is on a team with Resistance and Ben Solo, so it's okay, you got me covered. I see. I'm picking up what you're laying down. We're gonna have a good time together.
I don't know if it's wrong, man. I just don't think you're wrong. There's so many to look at, and I think there's so many ways to play it. And 1 week it's Holdocron, and maybe 1 week it's Raycron. This is, so I said, this is the set of level 9. Indeed. There are so many things. It's just crazy to think about. And nobody mentioned Sid, but I think Sid is going to be a shit ton of fun, man.
It's true. Well, I think a lot's been said about Sid, so I think it's fair. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, while we're on this, I just wanted to ask, we can pivot back to this if we want to, but one of the patron questions is literally, how are you planning to split Resistance, especially in 3v3?
I think that is such a good question too. I look at that and I think that is so undermanned because there's the one where you can't kill them if they're like not 100% health. That is so cool of an idea, and putting that together, you can split resistance into some fun ideas.
I think your notion of Ray Kron with Ray is going to be upsetting to people who are going to become more accustomed to fighting what I will be setting with the Holdo Kron with Ray. And then as far as how to split them, I mean, we all run generally 2 resistance splits in 3s. Typically, right? We have our Finzori team and we have our Ray team, and most of us are most of the time having it on defense. I think, therefore, it's pretty intuitive. Given what I just said about Holdo, you'd have the Holdo Kron with the Ray, and then you'd have the Fin Kron with your Finzori. But where the question for you, TJ, the solve for you this season is, what can you deny your opponent by setting the Ray Kron instead of the Holdo? And I guess that's going to have to be play tested. Because on paper, my gut would be that the Holdo is going to do more often.
I don't think you're wrong, and I don't think we know, because Ben in TW is not Ben in GAC. Ben in Arena is not Ben in GAC. It's a different game you get to play that goes in there. And the one that nobody mentioned, but with the Jedi thing, and I think is huge, who's a monster, is Beck. I don't care if that is CW or not.
Yeah.
Beck's kit is really smart.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of intuitive setups. What does that do in GAC? Obviously, we know Beck is really good in TW. There's no doubt about it. How does this play out in GAC now? Because now you get to split your stuff around, and you have that Beckcron, and he's already, like, it sounds OP as hell, right? Play that in. How do you split your Jedi up? Let's not discount that, because where goes where, right?
That's
what goes
fair.
with Qui-Gon Jinn? It's Beck with Qui-Gon Jinn, and now we're tying that in because we're going to move a piece around, and now you got these lessons.
And we could have another full video on just how this new set would be dividing up all of your splits here, especially for 3s. Like, I completely agree. By the way, guys, now, when I originally pitched this video here to Brock, I pitched him that we do this for about 2 hours. So he is pre-cleared 2 hours with the misses. He's got it all penned into the schedule, and everything's good. Everything's copacetic, except we're coming up on the end of Brock's availability here. So, Brock, before we end up causing an awkward end for you, we'll continue on with some of these Patreon questions after you're gone. But I wanted to offer you the opportunity for a graceful exit. Did you have any other notes you wanted to throw in on specifically this resistance question we just talked about, how you're doing the split in 3 versus 3, and any other final note you would like to make for the folks before you jump ship?
Well, I mean, funny enough, I'm actually more excited about this Kron when we get back into 5s. For resistance, because my split for 3s, it may not really change that much. I'm toying with the idea of throwing Zorian with Ray and Ben.
And
with the Ray Kron, then
with the Ray Kron and crit avoidance. And so it's like, not only can you not get the crit off, get the crit hit immunity off and inspire off, you're not going to be able to target her for a bit to do so. That's where I'm going with it, right? And you're not gonna kill her until you take Ben out. So to the extent that I consider maybe something like the Jedi No Revive being an option in GAC, it's just something to think about, I guess you could say.
Oh, I can see. Yeah, I can see your gas. I'm just thinking about you and gas.
Gas already has no revive. Don't forget.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying, but there's 100% damage, right? So it's just the thought that you get the health. So it's like
let's just say that
I'm with TJ.
My gas and passes gas
on your gas Kron.
Yeah,
no, I don't care about that. I care about the 100% defense.
My gas and Tass's gas are going to be taking names. I'll say that.
Well, here's the catch, though. Here's the catch. Having the high-spec gas with the high offense and all, that's all cool. But what's going to make the threat work the way that TJ's, thinking about and, anticipating, the key to the threat is if you've been pinching speed off of your 501st Rex to make budgets work elsewhere, reconsider your thought, because as long as your Rex is able to kick start and get you guys moving, gas is going to be
at a minimum, it's a banner bleeder, and
Yep.
at a minimum, right? It's not going to be a clean win. And I assure you, with the way that ours is modded, for instance,
yes,
that GAR ISC thing, bring it.
Step right up. Don't be shy. Welcome to the greatest show on earth. Have you ever seen two men get ejected out of the arena from a cannon? Because that's what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, that's basically, essentially. So that's what I say about the Ray Cron and the Jedi Cron to counter it, frankly. And other than that, I appreciate the shout out and the invite. It was more fun than I even expected, and I expected to have fun. So,
hey, I'm glad to hear it, and I'm glad that we delivered on what was promised to you. I told you it was going to be a good time, and I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. It was a real pleasure having you, and I'm glad that we were able to have you, in a time in a way that's not running afoul of either your work schedule or the missus. So, thank you so much for being here.
And I appreciate the consideration with that. I'm not important in any way. I just I have obligations that sometimes interfere with my ability to do the fun things. So
we all have personal lives. Our personal lives are important to us. I don't fault you for that.
So thank you for that consideration that you gave to that too.
Oh, you're very welcome, my man. Well, anyway, I mean, if you're going to linger about for a bit, of course you're welcome to continue on. But if you got to jump off here, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for being with us, and it's been great. Hopefully, we'll have you again sometime in the future. Great to get your thoughts. Some great off the trail thinking.
Being a Patreon to you myself, I think I'll take this opportunity to hop off and wait until the release to hear what the answers are to the questions.
Okay, great.
Oh, and hopefully the next time we can get you in a non-CP before a non-CP war. Maybe talk a little TW at the end.
If that staggers fixation, yes, we can do that.
I would be an open book if we had this conversation in 10 days. Let's put it that way.
All right, my man. Well, thank you again so much. And the good campaign must roll on. So
thanks, guys. Best of luck. Don't bite each other's heads off too hard, okay?
You know how it is out here.
Later, guys.
All right, take care.
Take care, bro.
Take care.
All right, guys, pivoting back in here to the Patreon questions. I know we meant to cover this in the earlier part of the video, but it's just as well now. How do we approach farming to prepare for week 1? Especially, with a meta shifting set coming, which I guess is always the case going into 3s when we have that first week where we only have one set of farming. Of course, we expect a major meta shift and all that. But what this patron was asking specifically was in the context of, like, what's your agenda? Are you spending the first X days farming up crons themselves? Then you're focusing on maxing out your red crate. Are you doing 50 crystal refreshes for your crons, hundreds, more than that? How is it that you're setting yourself up for not only success in this GAC season, but making sure that you end up with your red box at the end of Conquest as well?
I'm happy to share mine, to kind of start with that, and then you guys can vary off that. But I do really prioritize trying to get as many datacrons leveled as I can before the first TAC lock after a new conquest. And so what I end up doing is I really spend immediately I come out and I just strive to get to the end of Sector 4. And I just find, Sector 4 ends up being so key for getting the materials that help you level sort of, beyond level 3 up through 9. And so I go aggressively for that. I try to do it as much as I can before the previous set dusts, so that I can kind of go back and forth between sort of in advance to the deadline, dusting my own datacrons from the expiring set,
and then spending some of that on upgrade to get a little below the 30 million cap, playing a little bit of a game to try and manage the data cache aspect. But I really focus on getting through Sector 4, and I don't really spend much time other than like thinking about as I go through each of the different sectors in Conquest. If I can efficiently without losing a star, I'll use squads that give me credit either on that sector or one of the 8 main goals that they have, like to be able to sort of max out the red crate. But I don't come back and like focus on red crate until after the after Conquest has been out for at least a week and sort of the next GAC lock has happened. Mm-hmm. So that's the approach I tend to take. Now that is, I'm really aggressive with datacrons. I enjoy them. I just find that they bring life to like GAC and to a lot of the squads I enjoy. So I do go hard on them, and like I go at least through 100 refreshes, and the first week I consistently go through 200 refreshes. I just really get into like trying to level as many up as I can, and then I tend to have like, and I haven't really fully done this with the current set yet, just because I've had other priorities so far this week or over the last week. But I tend to have like an idea of like anywhere from like 3 to 6 datacrons I really want to prioritize that I will re-roll for. But I don't tend to do those until towards the end of that first week. Like the first thing that I do in the first 5+ days is just accumulate datacrons. And, you know, luck be what it is, I've got like whatever rolls out there. And then I will come back and refresh. The only exception to that is if I do notice that I am getting either really light on a particular faction I want to have, like if there are like 3 light side factions and I'm not rolling Jedi or something that I really want, then, and I notice I've got like all resistance, I may re-roll a level 6 before going up to level 9 off of a resistance. But that's the only re-roll I tend to consider. That could vary potentially if there was like just a spectacular level 3, but that's not applicable this season.
And
so that's my general practice.
Good.
Sorry, go ahead, Dagger.
No, go ahead, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say something very similar to what you said, where it's do the 50s, do the 100s, make my way to Sector 4 in a reasonable fashion, and then for week 1, I do one of 2 things like you were alluding to. I either build out wide if we have like Doubt and Prod up, or in this case, because I have 28 crons from the previous set, I'm just going to build like 4 to 6 level 9s. And similar to what you were saying, go to 3, go to 6. If it's the 6 you want, like you get resistance, you need Ray, you go to 9. If I already have race and I'm only going to 6, if it's Jedi, keep going.
Yep.
Right, just building 9s because I want those between 4 and 6 level 9s that I'm targeting for the first week because I'm going to be fine on all my B teams with their level 3s because from the previous set still exists.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think the generic level 3s this set are better than the generic level 3s from the previous set. So I'm focusing more on level 6s and 9s for this set, which means I'll be a little light on this set for week 1. And then after I lock in for week 1, I'll get my red box and then back to the trenches on fronts.
Yeah, but like to your point, and to Sasha's point earlier, generic conquest datacron farming strategy has kind of settled into this notion that when the set's brand new, you have the incentive to go wide, and then over the next week, and then over the progressive other iterations of that same conquest, you flesh it out after giving yourself a deep base. Sure. But unlike those historically, like TJ and others have been saying, like the Relic 9s are quite a few and quite powerful. So to your point, I think that there's going to be a fair few of us that are looking, instead of maybe to have like 2 or 3 level 9s, if you're only going through the 100s like that, you're really hopefully kind of springing to go for like 4 to 6. And yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And you've recently figured out your cadence for week 1. And I've been pretty consistent with get to Sector 4 somewhere in day 3, and then spend 3 to 4 days, maybe even 5, depending on how your reset works out, just farming up crons. And I know that you've in the past said you haven't had enough crons, and I've never really had that problem even when I go tall. Simply because of like I said, I do the 50s and 100s, get to Sector 4, stop there. Don't even start Sector 5. Just farm your crowns on 1 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
You should have enough of the Mark 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, to a slight degree, I can go taller this week because of how wide I went with the previous set.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, even like last set, I ended up with like 4 level 9s and 24 total crons going into week 1.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have a lot of set 13 material to buoy us here early on. So
basically, I expect to have around 6 to 7 level 9s and around 15 total crons going into week 1 from this set.
Yeah. Those are good generics to kind of take away. It's not bad. TJ, your thoughts here?
So, how I pretty much I don't ever change, but I'm also a spender. So I have to preface with my decisions on how I do things.
Maybe instead of talking about your strategy for farming, since your strategy isn't so farming dependent, let's talk about what your goals were for just
right now.
week 1.
That's what I was going to go to. Right, I always leave it Datacron dependent. The reason I say that is because this is the first set in a while where it's the level 9s that are doing the dirt. We've always had a really good cadence of the 6s or the 3s that have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like we look at last set, the set 3, doubt is huge, right? That plays a part, so you need to go wide on these. So what Dagger was talking about, this particular Datacron set is in a completely different ballgame because there's so many good level 9s that are really like making things different, right? Making them outstanding. And I think have a huge impact. So for this one particularly, I've been pushing more on the level 9 aspect because of that, right? That's why I was like, I counted out and I wrote it down. And I'll talk to 2 pieces of it. I want like 12 level 9s, and that's not 12 of the same ones. That's 12 varying level 9s because there's that many good pieces to the puzzle. But it's also written down in priority. So we talked about like Ray, Holdo. I think both of these are huge priorities. I think Beck is a huge priority. I think Sid, huge priority. These are real key pieces, and then it starts to get down into these additional factions. But because of that, that's how I'm trying to prioritize. I'm basing it on what I think is going to be the biggest impact to the life. Where, like Dagger just said, he has these other data crunch from the last set that'll work in its place. But this set needing so many level 9s, that is to me a huge resource commitment to try to get them out, because if you don't get lucky and you roll, I don't care, you want Sid and you keep rolling Banes and all that, that's resource dependency where it's like, damn it, I got to get to the next one. So for me personally, I'm rolling out every day. I have to roll 2 crons is my goal. So I'll go and do any of my faction stuff like Galactic Republic to make sure I get 2 new Datacrons every day. And then get them up to a certain point. Okay. Be it either to like 5, right? It's like, I don't know if I'm going to go dark side or light side, depending. So I'll make sure I can get at least 2 a day, get them up to a certain point of like 3 to 5, and then stop and see. Because if I need more darks or I need to get to that point, I try to do it that way.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a fair perspective. It's, most of us are none of us are free to play in this game, but I think most of us are trying to not spend too much in conquest. So having a strategy where you are more, going from the farming aspect, like a lot of us are, and then when you have a more goal focused, like I really don't feel like I want to go into week 1 without having X, Y, and Z. Like I'm fair. I appreciate getting your take on that. As far as my part, I'm still planning to go wide. Not so wide like I did with set 13, because to Dagger's point, like we all went really wide because of the prevalence and the usefulness of both Doubt and the Prod Up level 3 for light side. But I'm still going to go fairly wide. But like I said, instead of maybe having like 2 to 3, maybe something like 4 to 6 level 9s is what I go for, because these are some really crazy level 9s. I want to say out of all of them, there were maybe 8 or 9 that Sasha or that Aesop and I really fanboyed out about there in the Datacron video. So you can't get it all. I mean, most of us are not going to get anywhere close to having it all for week 1. But eating as much into that territory as you can, before lock, it's gonna matter because we've already talked about you already know if you participated in the last 5 vs 5 season, you know what Bane does to a team. Expect that Sidious will be doing the same thing here in 3. So the more of that you can participate in, the more options you'll have, the less inflexible your planning will have to be. Something like that. I think we covered everybody on that. So now we have a few more questions. So I know that we're trying to wrap up here. Let's try and keep our thoughts more brief on these, but I still think we can do them some decent service. Next question was, when going blind into a new season because of Datacron dusting, you've all stated, make it the opponent's puzzle to solve. With the new Datacrons and 3s being more Datacron dependent in the overall outcome of the match, what are the top 3 you plan to make your opponent's puzzle to have to solve? And I'm going to restrict this to say top 1. What is the number 1 puzzle you're looking to set on defense week 1 of this upcoming 3s? You don't have to go into exhaustive detail. I don't think we can bear too much exhaustive detail at this point. But let's have at least what the team is. What you're thinking to do. As far as myself, I'll take the low-hanging fruit there with I already said it earlier, Ray Swallow and Holdo. I'm a big fan of making Holdo relevant again, and she is doing a ton. So Ray, when the teams that I want to make it your problem to solve, it's only really something for you to solve if it's bottom front. It can't be just bottom top because you get the discretion of clearing my bottom front wall before deciding how you want to deal with that, and I'm not trying to afford you that kind of latitude. So Ray Swallow Ray Swallow Holdo is going to be bottom front a decent amount of time for me this first week.
Yeah,
Someone else jump in.
Mostly depends on the team.
Please.
Right, and again, mostly depends on the team, right?
Sure, it's about your preference. I mean, what do you think here? Going with the changes that this new Datacron meta will bring.
Mine are really easy. Like, I'll even do the original spirit of it because it's like that much of a rundown. It's Jabba with Doubt, Bo, and Bane. These are going to be fixtures for defense on me.
I see. You're just talking about the whole bottom front wall at all. But
is that Jabba's going to be top front.
Oh.
I don't care what you do to that. You can figure that out later.
Okay.
Yeah. But Bo and Bane are bottom front for me week 1.
I can give mine quickly, and it'll be to nobody's surprise. I'm gonna have fun setting a trench squad out there again. I think that trench DC is pretty cool. That squad's often underestimated. So
to Dagger's earlier point, are you gonna do trench Dooku Watt, or are you gonna hazard Dooku somewhere else for some more nefarious purpose?
Oh, I already said, like, the Dooku Watt Malik team is back on the menu for offense. It does a bunch of stuff. Unresistible tenacity down from his leadership, paired with the debuff from Malik and the stuns from his basic and special. Yeah. You just put tank tech on Malik to keep him from being stun locked. You put that health tech on Dooku so he regens the prod up as well. And come at me, bro.
Yeah. All right. TJ, I don't think you threw in anything. You want to add something in on the pile?
I think you guys told me on I think the Bane is a good one. So I think the week 1 with the Bane.
We got a convert over here.
Even that. No, you got to think about it, right? It's like I also talked myself into it as we were going through the conversation, which is why everybody should listen to the full video, because I feel like listening to the points of the reference, even if I'm wrong or right, that week 1 of that question on all of these pieces, the overkill is the biggest one. So it's like, and then everybody should be looking at Ray. It's just the pinnacle of, God damn, I hate Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you do that? Because this is where it's at, and this is the Ray meta right now. So it's like, that's just there. Whatever the Kron, it's going to be Ray.
Very fair. All right. Now, I want to prune this down to the last couple. Let me check. There was a couple late patron questions that I wanted to squeeze in. What question do we think that there will be any meta shifts? Are we going to continue playing this one-shot efficiency meta? Now, obviously, it's too early for us to say, what we can see based on actual performance. We'll have a fuller picture going into the week 1 review video of season 3, but just calling it on paper, just in your head, theory crafting it out. You think we can afford to get sweatier here with the expiration of set 12, or is set 13 still kind of forcing the law of the land to be efficiency? What do you guys have to say on that?
I mean, I think you can obviously be sweatier, but I mean, now we have cities to contend with too.
Right.
So,
so if you get extra
just
sweaty on
the gold?
defense, and it's something that he can just gobble up,
But there's
That's what I'm
only one
saying.
Sidious, though.
Yeah,
As the
but now we have
rule is,
Sidious and Wampa, and if they say Bane, they have Bane.
and Bo-Katan, there's a lot of
and
undermanned,
Afra,
very
and
reliable
Starkiller.
opportunities. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think if you really quick, I'll just finish off that particular question by saying this. I think you can set 5 GLs if you'd like, but I think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage to cleanly one-shot their board. And when I say clean, I mean, averaging 54-ish. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. But if you overset and you drop once, and they set 3 and you set 5, they're not dropping.
Yep.
yeah.
Not like you're gonna be anyway.
I think I just want to. I'm actually going to echo Dagger on it too. It's like I think we can play with things here and there. There's a very small window. I feel like with this set changing, set 12 was honestly meh. I'm not discounting it. It had cool things. It had cool mechanics that it was doing. But now with 13 being still a rock star and having 14 inclusive in there, and some of these teams are going to be crazy, man. Your window is way smaller to allow for a failure, because if you fail on the wrong team because you're going to still try to set some kind of defense, you're done. You might as well just pack it up. And that was a fast match. Well, good for GAC. Let's go, as Dagger would say, let's go test some stuff. And it's not because they got a 2060 or whatever it is. It's because I failed the one thing that was going to be the counter, and with Hellsteel or whatever it is, I can't kill it now. There's nothing I can do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, good luck cleaning up a raid this season. Go fuck yourself.
Horror. That's always a horror show. But if you see a 50% offense, 50% Hellsteel, I wish you all the best, my dude. Good luck on the first shot. But I mean,
Dude,
if we're talking about a second, I'll see you at the bar, man. I'll help you drink away those troubles, those woes.
Yeah, low-key, if I get hoed out week 1, I'm just gonna see Bane that bitch week 2.
Yeah, amen to that, because those two will handle that. Those two will handle that. All right.
What's funny is it's true. It is 100% true.
It is absolutely true. Now let's go ahead and get our last patron shot in a couple questions. We'll take one here for the road. He wanted some information about. I guess we can kind of handle both because one's really easy. First one is
that last question.
Is stat viable below 7 stars? Yeah, I think we all, maybe with the exception of Sasha, already have that. Did you have some comment on that, Sasha? Do you see stat featured for you in this next upcoming season?
I haven't looked at it. It's a very valid question. But given the opponents I've been facing, so a couple of things. One, I have not seen a high utility for stat on offense outside of a cleanup scenario where you're less banner sensitive. Because most of the time I've seen it, and I'm a little underexperienced with it, but when I've seen it on Tass's stream and elsewhere, it bleeds a bit on offense.
It does.
And then in terms of setting a defense, I can't set it below that. I can't use the data cron. It's just not going to be sufficiently intimidating. So no, I have not found utility below 7 stars, but that's at the competition, that's in that top 100 GAC stuff. I'd say outside of it, if I wasn't playing the fully stacked accounts, I could see it being relevant on defense. I just think some of the fundamentals in the Omicron itself or GAC are really impactful, and they do narrow down counter choices, particularly if you can be efficient on offense. It can narrow down your opponent's options. So earlier in game, yes. Late in game, no.
No, great. Appreciate you commenting on that. And pivoting now to the question we can all participate in. The last one here from our patrons. What information can we share about using Jedi Cal in 3 vs 3? We have to remember there's a certain segment of the population that is very recent, just coming up on their first acquisition, first time getting their chance to get their hands on Jedi Cal. They finally got all the resources in order. They're ready to go. How would you see Jedi Cal used in threes? Now, I think the overwhelming trend for us is I think we're all going to say offense. I don't know how many among us would actually hazard him on defense. I'm open to some surprise there. But if we all end up trending offense, maybe we can, specify exactly how.
You have I wouldn't recommend defense, but you have like 3 options. You have Bastila Cal plus tank, and I'll take out pretty much any Malgus that you roughly equivalent relics. Pretty much any Malgus, most other like C plus B minus teams. If you want to punch up a little bit, you can do JKR Jolie Cal or JKR Bastila Cal, right? Because you get the built-in savior. Or if you're trying to use JML for his highest applications, you're doing like JML, JKL, JKC, and that could beat something up to like Leia or Lord Vader. So, but that's all I gotta say on it. Basically, like you're gonna in 3v3, he has a lot of utility. And quick aside, if you do like the potency build, you get to open yourself up to being able to beat things like Darth Revan and stuff like that a little bit better because you get to land Jedi. You get to land Force influence after BSF is dead. Yeah, so the Force influence and the staggers are super good in certain matchups, like against Zori, being able to just TM loop them. So I mean, it really just depends on how you end up modding your Cal. If you're just on the
great
offensive
point to make on that. Like I know that you've long held that position, and it's not that I disagreed with it historically. It's that I just didn't have the item budget. I didn't have the stat budget to achieve what I think we'd all agree are the higher priority stats of the adequate speed, a lot of health, and as close to 10k offense as you could get. And after that, as much potency as you could throw on would be great. I didn't have it back when I got him on the first release. I just recently remodded him such that he's like a little over 105,000 health. This is a Relic 9, so it's high investment, but a little over 105,000 health. 10k offense on the nose. I want to say just a hair under 280 or right around 280, like 278, 280, something like that, and 100% potency. And that was a real bit of stretching to hit all those marks. But I think the one disclaimer to throw in on what Dagger said is like that potency is effective, but only really go for it if you can hit healthy marks on the health, the speed, the offense
100k
first.
health. Yeah, 100k health, 10k offense, then worry about other stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, that's a great one. Thanks for citing a couple comps there. TJ, Sasha, did you have anything you wanted to expand on there?
No, that covers it for me.
I'm going to give one more split that I didn't hear Dagger. I think Dagger covered it pretty damn well. The only one to add is it's nice when you can do a double powerhouse, and having a JKL with Cal is another one that can split very well in a couple of situations. So that's the only one I want to add in. I think Bass Lead is usually it. JKR has it, but yeah, JKL is just another one that you can do, and it works very well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I use that against a slacker.
Ooh, yeah, that's a coup. That's an upset. I like that.
Yeah, It was JKL, Cal, and Armorer.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Now the armor there. I still think there's a decent number of people that don't really know about the usefulness.
That's a cool. You're doing the JKR split without JKR. You cheeky bastard.
I had used JKR and GMY against Lord Vader in front.
No, but that's just like the idea that you got to do the same split up idea and it still works. So that's pretty damn cool. That is a good little tidbit of added info.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, we've run through everything. We hit our full agenda. We hit our stretch goals with getting our Patreon questions in, and we even were able to, decently field a guest in the mix. So, my hat's already off because I started sweating, just being in this hot office about halfway through the episode. But if it weren't for that fact, I would say hats off, Hats off to you guys, hats off to Brock, hats off to everybody. I had a lot of fun here with this episode.
As long as we all agree you need to take the god-awful hat off.
No, don't listen to Dagger. Dagger's a liar. He's a fool.
Get this man a new hat, people. He needs a hat. He needs more hats.
Listen to his Slugger-related comments. Disregard all of his commentary as madness for anything he has to say about the hats. All right. So, guys, as always, appreciate you all being here. It's time to wrap this up. For all the fine folks there watching this show on YouTube, if you want to catch me live, I stream twitch.tv/Tassinix. If you want to learn more about the Scheme Team, Dagger, TJ, and Sasha Isha, their Swugga.gg profiles are listed there in my YouTube. You can go see about how each of us prepare the secret sauce that we take into GAC. If you want to catch me live, Twitch is the place to catch me. We already mentioned a couple points here. The related Datacron Set 14 video that's coming out Thursday morning. So what? That's March 22nd. It should be out here for you guys. Get in on that. All of my Twitch streams, I actually take the VOD, download it, and upload it to YouTube with chapters added for your easy browsing. So that's there on YouTube. And of course, Plotting and Scheming, waiting here for you, exclusive, for all the folks here on YouTube. And then, of course, if you're a podcast listener, you don't really like the YouTube format, we're also out on SoundCloud, YouTube podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So appreciate you listening for, whichever means is most convenient to you. If you like the show and you want to support me, you like the cut of my jib and you want to see great things for me and for what we're doing here, check out my Patreon. Check out patreon.com/Tassinix. Oops, I got to switch the screen there. For any upwardly mobile GAC player, there is something of interest to you. $5 gets your foot in the door to the Tass House, where you get the early access to my YouTube content, including Plotting and Scheming. Where you can just get on in just that much sooner, have that information available before GAC lock, make the best use of that intel. It's all there for you. If you bump up to the $10 tier, you get the bundled membership with OmegaBot Patreon. So if you've ever seen those detailed scouting reports I do on my opponents, that's the way to get access to that. Check it out. And of course, the new $15 tier that includes the bundled Patreon membership to OmegaBot, but also to Hotbot/HotUtils. So you can have the premier tools for not only GAC scouting, but for your mod loadout, your mod inventory management, and more. There's a lot of tools available broken into those two. So can't say enough good about them. Let's thank the patrons themselves that make all of this possible. At VIP access level, gotta thank White Wolf, Sam Vimes, Jobin4527, Stark Strategy Gamer, Renee Bebe, Deadpool Cow 28, Johnny B. Ottawa, JJ's Productions Twitch, Sweens14, Darth QPPMG, Ray's Malbus, and Brock Thudsteel, who is actually our guest tonight. So, not only a patron, but also, just a good guy, good sport. Appreciate you a lot. Thanks so much for being here tonight. At VIP Access Plus, taking advantage of that OmegaBot bundle, Trevor Boy Gaming, Striker, and Esh Satnaticum. Thank you guys so much. At VIP Access Premium, taking advantage of the new bundle with both OmegaBot and Hotbot, Quig, and Ibenek, and Sir Boss. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate the support. Enjoy the benefits. At Jester's Club Elite, the top rung, the secret rung, there's only one, Nomad's Reaper. Just the absolute greatest supporter here, not only just this last season, crushing hype trains, 3 huge hype trains of note, just in this last season, but over the last couple of years, just extraordinary support, man. Thank you so much. I'm so delighted that you want to support me the way that you do. Just so great that there's enough value for you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. All right, special thanks goes out first to Yoda Force, one of my former leader back when I was in Maw Vanguard, but most importantly, back when I was just first starting the stream, bought me the mic I'm speaking to you on right now. He's long since quit the game, but we appreciate him and wish him well on the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for keeping our industrious and curious daughter out of my hair during the streams, because she's always wanting to practice letters and numbers and words and other stuff with Dad. And wouldn't you know it, she likes to do it right in the middle of my streams. So appreciate you running interference and all the support in the background. To Dagger, TJ, and Sasha Isha, my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming, thank you guys so much. Couldn't do it without you. Love the quality of the show that we produce. I'm real proud of our work here. So thank you so much. It means a lot. I mean, it is everything. And I think what we offered the community here is something that isn't getting covered quite the same way by anyone else, and just couldn't get done without you guys. So thank you so much. And also a special note of thanks to Dagger, who is an admin on my Discord, helps a lot out with community questions and back end work, behind the scenes work. Appreciate that added effort. All right, guys, coming back around. It's an interesting off week here. A lot to do with TB and farming up all of your goals here for your Datacrons heading into the first week. But we'll have a lot to talk about as we wrap up that first week, and we'll see you on that episode very soon. Until next time, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care.